Hi.
What's up, guys? Welcome to DragBoss Garage. I was watching that video and I was like, wow, man, I sure wish we'd go back to those times. Now it's still warm out. It's like 60 degrees here in Ohio, but I sure miss racing. So I see a bunch of people here already. Chris Jones, good to see you. Brian Seward, good to see you. Perry Ford, nice to see you. David Reed. So Perry had asked, hi, Darren, but Darren's not here tonight. It's just me. I decided to do a live chat to kind of put you guys up to speed with things. And the boss sets kind of wanted to be on because they haven't done it in a long time and they wanted to try it. So I said, that's fine. We can do a quick live chat. And I got a lot to talk about, kind of set you up and bring you up to speed. So 12:30:25 at 7 p.m. That's the live chat that Darren and I are doing. Shelton, it's good to see you. We're going to be talking to you too and about you. So Darren and I are doing that live on 12:30 at 7 p.m. And the topics are, it's going to be valve and port size. We may talk about specific things like, the 23-degree Chevy likes this size intake and exhaust valve, or the Cleveland likes the 219 and 171, but may improve if you go with a smaller valve, stuff like that, in relation from the valve size to the port size itself for that cylinder head. I think that's an important concept for people to get. We're also going to talk about engines, specific engines, and also the power band. The power band is only 1,500 RPM. I don't think a lot of guys really realize that. So when you're picking a camshaft, that's what you want to think about, is where you want to put that power band. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is overrev, which I think is really underestimated. I don't even think guys really consider that, but it's really important in shift points and where you're driving and how far you're carrying that power out in the RPM range. So Maverick 351, it's good to see you here. Merry Christmas. Yes, thank you. Christmas was great. And now we're ready for the new year in 2026. So I hope you guys are ready for that too. One of the things I wanted to talk about was, I went to PRI in December 10th, 11th, and 12th, I think the dates were. It was a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now, Thursday, I went there, and I took Zeus with me. He was really like the star of the show. I've never seen anybody or any group of people be so enamored by a dog, but it was amazing. He just was like, everywhere we went, people wanted to take pictures of him, and I trained him there so he'd be used to the area and be familiar. So you're back on, Iz. So so it was pretty interesting. There was a lot of people there. Maybe anywhere from 10 to 40,000, and he was the perfect gentleman. I would go and talk to people. He would just go in the down position, and he would sit there until I told him to move. But he was a very, very great dog. So, and well behaved. So the girls haven't been on a long time. So I said, you know what? Like I said, they wanted to talk about it and bring them on. So I said, let's do it. I'm not really sure what Elena's doing. What is she doing?
What?
You're doing facial care during a live chat?
Oh, you can see me?
Yeah, we can see you. Guys can see you. Yep, there's about probably 20 guys on here. And they're,
how many?
I don't know, maybe 20.
Oh.
So I'll tell you kind of the things who I've talked to so far and where I'm at. Now, on here right now, let me see if I can find his name, and we'll kind of put him up. And hopefully he's still here. But I saw him say hi, and it's Shelton Bars. Now, I'll kind of give you some information about Shelton, because this is what we're bringing into DragBoss Garage in 2026. And that's what I wanted to kind of run through this with you guys. So who's ever here can get it firsthand. Otherwise, you can watch the replay, and you may be interested in this. So Shelton owns a company called LGM, Racing and Development. So he kind of bought some rocker arms and some information and some stuff from, now it escapes me the name. I'll think of it in a minute. But from a company that did performance, and put it on there, Shelton, because I forgot what it was. It's on the tip of my tongue. But he started doing some rocker arm designs and building rocker arms through them. Then he kind of hooked up with Chad Spear and got some of his cylinder heads and started making rocker arms for him. Then he hooked up with Terry from Wilkes Performance. Now, if you've been paying attention to, oh yeah, it was Probe. Sorry, thanks, Shelton. So it was Mark O'Neill. That's who it was. If you guys remember Mark O'Neill from back in the day, in the 5.0 days, you know, he was with Probe. So he was making some rocker arms and some other parts. And then Shelton kind of bought that off him because he kind of wanted to go in a different direction. So that's how Shelton got into the business. And we're going to have him on for a live chat because me telling his story isn't fair to him. And it doesn't give it justice. I'm just trying to give you an overview of how it all kind of went down. But I've been making some videos. I made one of Terry Wilkes and some of the cylinder heads he's doing with the LS designs that he has and proprietary rocker arm systems that he makes. He also makes them for Ford. He made them for, I think it was the Trick Flow Ford. So if you're on there, Terry, welcome here. But we're going to do a live chat with Terry also, maybe all three of them. Another guy that I worked with before in the past was Ed McLemore. Now, if you remember him, Darren had done the Assassin cylinder head for a big block Ford for him. And it was one of the baddest designs that Darren said. He couldn't believe how they flew and how much power they made. So Ed may be on. I gave him a link. He may be on at 7:30. The girls don't want to be on here forever. They have to do facial care. And actually, Izzy has to get ready for basketball tomorrow, right, Iz? So she's got to get up early for that. So they'll be cutting out. But what he did, Terry Wilkes did, was do the cylinder rocker arms for Trick Flow for their small block Ford head. So it's pretty interesting to see that. I haven't covered that yet. I got some video on it, but I haven't posted yet. And I was trying to think of how to put it all together. And now with Ed coming in, maybe tonight he might talk about his cylinder heads. But he has a small block Ford Assassin head. I mean, there again, it's one of the baddest cylinder heads out there. And they're already making rocker arms at LGM for that. I think Terry Wilkes is producing them, and Shelton's going to sell them. He told me Jessel already has them out for that cylinder head combination. You know, it's a pretty specific cylinder head, which you're going to have a special piston for. I think even a camshaft. He may fill us in on that. So a couple of the other people I talked to, and you saw that they had a little cameo appearance on my Facebook, and that was Rick Gorski from Firecore 50. He does those ignition wires. I'm telling you, it's a set I've used on my Cougar, I want to say since 2018. Best ignition wire I ever had as far as fit and as far as on and off. You know, they click on and they are on. They do not come off. So that makes a big difference. He'll be on for a live chat. Actually, he said he wants to come to DragBoss Garage because he lives only about 30 minutes away. So he wants to make a trip down here. We'll do a similar live chat with, like I did with Darren here, and then we'll do a little seminar on the wires. He may bring some wires down, or we'll make them for the 354 Cleveland for Izzy's Mustang. So we'll get some new wires for that. Get that ready. That engine is kind of on the back burner. We had talked about that before, you know, that it has a cylinder that's kind of in rough shape and lost compression and had cylinder leakage. And it was due to the ring getting hung up in the bore and some rust. And I have a little short. I should put it up just for people to see, because there's a million different interpretations of that, and people have asked questions about that. So I might put that up there. One of the guys I had talked to at PRI was a guy named Brad Miller from BAM Lifters. Great guy. I just put up a small clip on his discussion on needle bearing roller lifters versus a roller bushing and what he feels is better depending on the application. So I have another interview with him that's probably a total of 20 minutes. Kind of tells his story because he came from Crane Cams and his story is pretty phenomenal. So I think we should definitely get him on for a live chat. Now, I put up a video yesterday, and that was with Claude Holiguin from C.H.E. Now, Claude does, if you saw the video, he specializes in custom-made valve guides, seats, retainers, bushings for lifter bores, a whole vast, anything to do with a valve train, he can make it. So he's been around for a long time. He was 84 years old. And him and Darren are good friends. And we were supposed to meet up before and do a live chat with him, but I dropped the ball. You know, I forgot and I lost the information. And then things got away and I just dropped it. So I had to apologize on camera to him. And he kind of got a kick out of that. But Darren made the video and he also edited it. So that's one of his first videos in respect to that kind of thing with the interview. Not something that he made as far as, you know, cylinder flow or development. And we got a lot of people here, I'll tell you.
Somebody asked, when is Izzy learning to drive? Now.
Yep. We won't get into that, but yep, that's a fact. Let's see who we got. Ricky's House of Crap. Hey, Tim and family, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you, Ricky's House of Crap. Yep, she's going to learn to drive. There's no doubt about that, CD. That Mustang, she's got to learn how to drive a stick car. So I think she's pretty excited about that, which brings to light, we'll say, that I went to McLeod, and I'll tell you, those guys, McLeod Racing, they treated me like family. I was like unbelievable. Walked in there, and I tell you, Zeus was an opening line. They see him, and everyone gathers around to see him, you know, and then he knows it, and he shows off, and, you know, he likes to be a tough guy, but a well-behaved gentleman. So I talked to Mr. Clutch, Will Beatty, and if he sees this, it was great to talk to you. He is a Cleveland guy from way back. So we're going to have him on to talk about clutches and about clutch development, the types of clutches, and what's best for that 69 Mustang. So I think that's going to be a good discussion, a live chat. And Dean Stevenson is here. He's from New Zealand. So it's good to see you here, Dean. Thank you so much.
New Zealand.
Yeah, you know where that is? The other side of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll come to New Zealand for a trip, Dean. Be nice to come and do some traveling there. And hey, who knows? We'll see. Oh wait, he's put something up here. New Zealand. There you go. I think they have a lot of cows there, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of cattle.
Oh.
I don't know. He can comment about it because I really don't know that much about New Zealand. Other guys can talk about it. And here's my old buddy, Terry Grover. Hello, Tim, family, and everyone. Welcome, Terry. It's good to see you. I'm kind of doing my own live chat. So there's 31 people here, which is pretty interesting. So thank you so much for that. Now, another guy that I'll tell you the story. I put it on the short that I put up today. A lot of people don't read the descriptions. I try to put in a pretty descriptive paragraph in there, how things came about or something about that video. I don't know if people even read them, but I think it's important. But I went to have lunch at this little big cafeteria, I'll say. The place was packed. There's no place to sit. And I had Zeus with me. So I bring him in and we're looking around. I had a piece of pizza. And this father and son said, hey, why don't you sit here? We're leaving in a minute. I said, okay. So I sat down and I ate my pizza. They left. Well, these two women come in and they said, hey, can we sit here? I said, hey, no problem. Have a seat. So they sat there and I was eating pizza and I'm talking to Zeus. And they said, how's the show? I said, it's a great show. This is, you know, they said, we really love that dog. Everyone seems to be talking about him. He seems to be a hit of the show. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so I was finishing up and I'm looking at my itinerary. And I said, well, I'm going to get going. And they said, well, where are you headed now? I said, well, I'm going to Tech Team, I said, or Team Tech. That's what it was, Team Tech. And they said, well, what are you going to do there? I said, well, I'm going to look up and see what they have for safety equipment because I'd like to talk to them about having them on for a live chat with safety equipment and, you know, SFI stuff, because you guys give me a hard time about not having gloves and pants and probably a neck collar and that kind of thing. And I guess the joke about SFI Levi's doesn't go too far. And with these two girls here, I kind of want to be as safe as I can because you guys know racing's a pretty dangerous sport, especially once you get into the nines, man. It ain't no joke. I mean, you have an accident 140 miles an hour, you're going to be getting hurt, no doubt about it.
Mhm.
So they said to me, they said, well, why are you going there? And I said, well, they're a new company from what I heard. I heard from, I think Shelton actually may have told me that, or one of those guys there in that little area. So I'm going to see if they'll help me out. And they said, hang on. So they texted somebody and they said to me, they said, listen, I want you to go see Eric. And I'm like, Eric at 3529. I said, who's he? He goes, he'll take care of it. He's the sales manager for Impact Racing. And then the lady, one of the girls said, do you know who this is? I said, no. They said, well, this is the president of Impact Racing. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was pretty impressed by that, the way things happen and fall in. So that made me, I was impressed. I was like, whoa. So when I got there at Impact Racing, it was like welcome home, just like McLeod. I mean, come on in. They all love the dog. And I started talking to Eric and he said, I want to help you out. I said, well, I want to help you out. It's not about just getting free products and stuff like that. And you have to remember that. That's not what it's for. And that's probably one of the biggest turnoffs that those companies have, because they're not there to give free stuff away. They're there to make money and sell their product, and I always try to remember that, because I always want them to be first. I don't care about the free product. I want to bring them on and show you guys what they have to offer, for safety equipment or for lifters. It's for information. Information is what makes you, knowledge is power. That's why I say that. It's not about getting a set of free lifters for that old engine. Big deal. I can send them in and a couple $100, probably get those rebuilt, and I'll be good enough. But, when they have a new product and they want you to try it, or they recommend it, I mean, that makes a big difference. It makes me feel important, me, a little YouTuber, feel important that they want to help me and then I can help them. So we're going to do some live chats with these people that are coming on. I talked with a guy named Farron Lovers. Now, Farron works for Hoosier Tires. And I asked him about, the tire that I use is a 10.5 by 30 drag radial slick. People are always asking me about that. And I'm telling you, once I switch that, it brings a tenth right off your 60. But I had an issue with it, always with a 60 foot, until I figured them out with air pressure and with shock settings. And now it's like they'll hook on anything. And I think that's important for you guys to see what tires they have and what's out there. So he's going to be coming on. And on the side here, there's guys already talking to each other. So it's kind of funny. And I say that to another live chat. There's other conversations going on in the comments. So you may see me bringing them up and stuff at times. The other people that I had talked to was Ferreira Valves. Now, Zeke, or Terry, I think his last name was, but he's the owner of Ferreira. And we started talking about valves and valve sizes and valve material, and I told him about the Pro Stock valve that I got and the cost of it. And he said, I'd like to come on there and talk about valves, give these guys some insight. What's the difference between a competition valve versus a street valve, that kind of thing. I think that's important for you guys to know. If you don't want to watch it, click it off or put it on hold or come back when I'm talking about something else. So I think that's pretty good to try to get that information out there. Another guy I brought on board, and I had mentioned him before in one of my videos on measuring the cylinder bore, using the cylinder bore gauge, and that's Larry Sullivan. He helped me. Oh, he actually taught me how to use the bore gauge. So he's coming on board with DragBoss Garage. Now he's from French Lick, Indiana. Now, he's an engine builder. He has his own engine business, and he worked for Bob Glidden for over 3 years. And you should hear the stories he has to tell about that. So it's pretty important.
This guy had a question.
Sure.
I don't know. Wait.
Stevenson? Cleveland valves are very high.
No.
Seems like the 335 is a perfect environment for valve advances. I'll just spit it out. Yeah, the 219 valve is heavy. I want to say it's 130 grams or something like that. Whereas if you go with titanium, it brings it down to like 85 or something. So yeah, there's definitely a big difference there. And also with valve stem, 11/32 versus 5/16 versus the old 3/8. I mean, there's a big whole technology, and that's what we'll get into. So thanks, Dean, for bringing that up. Let's see. Someone else said something. Bill, 3/8 valve guides are in some old guy's toolbox somewhere at 50. Yeah. Well, because Bill Ferretti had mentioned, if you guys read this, he owns a company in Connecticut called Mustangs and More. And what he does is restore Boss 429, Boss 302, Boss 351, Hemi, anything that's rare like that. He's been restoring those for years. He has had a huge Boss collection. He just sold a 70 Boss 429 to a gentleman down south. So he's doing another restoration right now, and the guy doesn't want to really change much on it, so he had to get some new valve guides. So 3/8 isn't common. I mean, they're heavy. Those valves are heavy. When you think about valve train stability, what do you think about? Lighter is better, right? That's what girls think about. Lighter is better. No one wants to be the heavy, what do you call it? The big back, right? No girl wants to be the big back, but
He's a big back.
right. But that's how we are. We are who we are, and there's not much we can do about it unless you try. But the point is, he talked to Claude, and Claude's going to hook him up and make some custom guides for him. And I was talking to Bill the other day, and one of the things he told me that's pretty amazing is, the Boss 429 was always thought to be a dog. Yeah, that's a dog, runs 1450s. The problem is that engine was detuned so much, all they cared about was getting the 500 units for NASCAR, and maybe they didn't even get 500 units. I heard they had cars that didn't have engines. But the bottom line is, Bill told me, if you go ahead and put headers on a stock Boss 429, headers and exhaust, put the right carburetor, like a Holley 750 on that, and put the cam in the correct way. Leave the cam what it is, but put it in the correct way because it was retarded. He says you'll pick up 75 horsepower right off the bat. You even do a finer tune, you can pick up 100 horsepower without changing anything else inside the engine. So people don't really know that. Now we'll keep going. Let's see. We got to say hi to Joel DuBois. Now, Joel is a buddy of mine that I've become quite close with, and he works for Pat Musey. So you remember I had Pat Musey on a while back. Pat's going to come on, and you better, Pat. He's going to come on and do some Nitrous Tech, where we come on and do maybe a half-hour or hour episode, whatever he wants to do. He's a busy man, and I don't want to waste his time because he's taking it out of his own time to come on and help you guys on Nitrous. So I'll make sure that that's in line, that you have plenty of advance on that. We got 45 people on here. That's pretty good for old DragBoss. So Joel does all the head work for Pat Musey, for all those mod motors, nitrous injected. Now, he has an extensive NASCAR history, worked for NASCAR for a ton of years. We're going to do a live chat with Joel, too, when we get around to that. So I didn't forget, Joel. Hey, there's someone I haven't seen in a while. John Wilborn. Good to see you, John. Thank you. Appreciate you being here and supporting DragBoss Garage. Thank you very much. Let's see what Dean says. He said, wow, that sounds about right. The Boss passed emissions, though. That's why Ford figured to punch it down. Yeah. Yeah, but you do those small changes to it, and that thing would have been a tire burner like you wouldn't believe. And there probably were some out there, but it had a bad reputation of being a dog, so I don't know how many sold out there. I remember you could buy one for like $4,000 in 1980 or something like that when I was looking for when I was looking for my Cougar. So let's get back on the topic, and I'll keep going. So now with Larry Sullivan, like I said, so he's going to come on. Actually, here's what he did. He may be on here, but I don't see him logged in or anything. But he went to Indiana. I forgot the name of the town, but he went there and just picked up a 351 Cleveland two-barrel motor. You may have seen it on Facebook. It came out of a 71 Mach 1, and the engine turns over. It's all complete. So he just went and picked that up. He's bringing it back to his shop in Indiana. And I think what our goal is, we're going to make a 500-plus horsepower Cleveland two-barrel. He thinks he can do it, and I know we can. I know just what we have to do. So he may do some head work on it, some porting. I don't know, but it's going to be a pretty good build. He's going to start that build there. I'm going to start building an engine here, the 409 that you see in back of me. I'm going to tear that down. And then I have another set of internals that I could either make a 30 over regular standard Ford block, or I may use the new block that I have that I've never built before and build that into a 30 over, or I have found a set of pistons that are flat top that I got from Jay Cushman that are 4 135 bore. I don't know. We're going to do something with it, start a new build and show you how I deburr a block and do all the oil changes that I have and bring it from the beginning to the end, fillet and everything. So that's coming on board. Now, speaking of that, I picked up another guy that does engines. His name is Nick Bacallis. Now, Nick owns Bullet Racing, St. Louis, Missouri. You may know who Nick is, but back in the 5.0 days, Pro 5.0 days, Nick had a 66 Mustang that was blue. And that thing was killer fast. So he's kind of a Ford guy. Now, he does a lot of work on everything. He's at one-man shop, and he is busy. In fact, what he did was he built a 632 cubic inch big block Chevy at PRI at the booth. He put it together. Now, obviously, they did stuff at it at his shop to make sure things are going to be no issues, but he built it at that PRI event, and they went and dynoed it, University of Indiana or somewhere. I forgot where it was, but I'm going to bring him on for a live chat too. What he's doing now, he's already starting to send me video, and we're going to see how this works out because I've never done this before. I don't think anybody has, but we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to start uploading videos of his shop and him working in his shop. He's already sent me a bunch of putting some pistons in LS. So does that mean you guys want to watch some guy putting pistons into LS? I don't know. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But it's kind of interesting to see people do stuff. You know, we all see things all done. There it is. There's the parts, and yep, there it is, all done. It's on the dyno. And this is a little bit different. This is seeing some guy doing a valve job. This is a guy who might be milling some heads. You know, I don't know if he's even going to talk in it, but it's just something to put up there to kind of bring him in. And then these guys are going to be available. If you decide to have engine work done, you can choose one of these guys, you know, and we'll figure it out. Another guy that I had met is Steve Marsa. Steve, if you're watching this, I want to hook up with you. We've texted back and forth. Now, Steve's a chassis guy. So I want to bring him in, and he wants to do feature his chassis work and show you what he does and how he does things and explain it. And my buddy JP Patterson, if you're watching this, you will watch it because you tell me you watch all my videos. He built my headers for my car, my roll cage. He wants to come here and he wants to do new subframe connectors for the Izzy's 69 Mustang. So they're not underneath the floor, so they fit in better. You know, build a set of headers for the Cougar so that I can try racing with a high port set of Clevelands and have the right header made for it. So he wants to build a set of headers for it. He said it'd be pretty easy the way the car is now with the engine plate. And he'd like to feature that build on DragBoss Garage. You want to get a set of headers built? Let me know. I mean, he's going to be here in the next couple of weeks. And we have an area to put the car. You can get the headers done. But we'll digress. We won't keep going into that. Let's see what Steve Clayton says. Steve Clayton says, and he's from Virginia. It's good to see you, Steve. I've been rebuilding my 302 currently because it blew the heads. It blew the heads. Parts came in. We'll be putting it back together tomorrow. Crazy how small ports are compared to stock Cleveland. 71 Cleveland 3. Cleveland 3V. I don't know what you mean. Maybe a 73 Cleveland. I don't know. I get what your point is. But yeah, the 302 ports are peanut ports when you see them. It's like, how do they even make any power? But you always got to remember that power is not always made by the size of the port, right? It's not always about how much they flow. It's about port velocity. It's getting that charge in there efficiently. That's where the power comes in. And if you're on the street, you don't want these my Cleveland heads that you see back there for the most part. They're too big unless you build it a certain way for the street and the strip. But you put in a 302 and do some work on it, man, that can be a mean street machine. Rev to frickin' 7,500 with no problems or whatever. So yeah, good. I'm going to be putting my heads. I got the head area back here. I'm going to be doing my heads as we speak. I already have some videos made on measuring. You've seen them probably. I've posted measuring the valve guides and how loose they were. And to tell you the truth, I think those guides are probably original from over 40 years ago because they're cast. They're steel. They're ferrous. They're not bronze guides. So I'm pretty sure they're original. And they've lasted quite a long time. So let's see who we have up here. Aha! There's a doctor in the house. Dr. Ron Burgess, you better get ready and do a live chat because I'd love to hear your story. And custom headers they really are. I tell you, when you see them, and I'll do a video on my headers alone. I actually did one on some of the construction, but I'll do them all together and how they assemble because the way they fit like a glove. I mean, I don't know how anybody has the patience. Are you eating now during a DragBoss live chat? I don't know how they fit. It's just, you got a talent there, guys that build headers. So no doubt about that. Let me see what this guy says again. Dean says, oh, you got the 302 non-boss, disregard. Sorry, fellas. Okay. Disregard. Exhaust manifold, sorry. 2V, Lafalo phone acting crazy. I'm going to tell you right now, Steve, get rid of those exhaust manifolds. You're killing 25 horsepower right off the bat with those type of heads if you do any kind of work with them and use stock manifolds. So there you go. Here's what he says. I'm up for a live chat. Okay, then we're going to schedule because I would really like to do like 1 or 2 a week. You know, not 3-hour marathons like Darren and I do. Every time we try to talk about it and limit it to an hour, hour and a half, it never works. I mean, there's so many people that have questions, and it's rare that we get a chance to do a live chat anyways. We're trying to do that more frequent on DragBoss Garage membership on a regular basis, say 1 or 2 a month. And not everybody wants to join that. You know, $14.99 a month. I mean, that's not for tire kickers. I mean, that's for the serious performance enthusiast that wants the most out of their combination, or someone that just wants to learn whatever they can learn. You know, it's less than 30 cents a day, so that's something to think about. But we'll get you on for a live chat, Doc.
Well, it's actually 7:32, so
now you're leaving.
I have to get going.
All right. So listen, boss hats. We don't need to see the chip, boss hat 2. Boss hat 1 and 2.
Hey, I just chips. I'm hungry.
I know you are.
Okay.
You're growing like a weed. So, all right, those guys are going to go, and I'm just going to keep going because I have a lot to talk about. And as long as there's an audience of people interested, I'll just keep going. What?
Said, of course, you have a lot to talk about.
I can talk for hours. I really can. When it comes to talking racing, because this is like bench racing in my garage with you guys all here, and that's just BSing about engines and who's got what or who did what, you know. And I like that. So I appreciate you guys being here. If you're taking off, hasta la vista.
Thanks for inviting me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye, Elena. Bye, Izzy. Love you. Now it's just you, Iz. Are you up there? They're gone. So now it's up to me to keep this going. So that's what we'll do. We'll kind of run down some of these questions because I'll tell you, you know me, I can talk. So Steve says, well, yes, we love your stuff. Watch all the time. You know what? I hope you do. You know, I'll tell you the truth. It's crazy. But I could make a freaking video in a short or a reel and put up something like every hour. Well, not every hour, like at least 2 or 3 times a day. And I can't even tell you how long. I mean, I have uploaded already probably 10 or 15 shorts. So it's a matter of me just clicking them on. I just keep making them. Stuff comes to my mind and I just keep doing it. Can't explain it. I have an idea, boom, I go ahead and do it. And if you guys like it, you like it. If you don't watch it. So let's see what the CD says. Plating the engine tip. I've passed it on. Get rid of motor mounts. Yeah. I mean, what he's talking about is using an engine plate and a mid plate. And if you do that, remember, you got to have a lateral limiter, which I didn't know about until JP told me. You don't just put a mid plate and a front plate on it. You got to have that lateral limiter. And with that setup, you can have a solid transmission mount without any problems. I've been running a solid transmission mount with no issues like that. So if you guys that run that setup, without a solid mount, comment on it, and we'll see if we can address it. So we still have 40 people, so I enjoy that. Thank you, guys. So Terry says, Tim, it's easy to get a race when you use factory 302 heads. Yes. And I'll tell you, if there's anybody a factory porter, so to speak, it's Terry Grover. I mean, that guy ports iron stuff like you wouldn't believe. His son had, I think, a 302 that You know, I forgot how fast it was, but that thing was running in the tens with factory 302 heads with little work otherwise. So think about that. Let's see what Bad 505 says. I remember you. The Boss 302 is a canted / stagger valve, Windsor cylinder head. It's not even debatable. Check the castings to wins and found or not F with circle line. Okay. Yep. And we all know why. I mean, think about it. When that Cleveland opens up, right, it's opening up into the middle of the cylinder. That's why they're so advantageous compared to an inline cylinder head. Now, with that said, are there some pretty bad inline cylinder heads? You bet there are. You know, after the Cleveland went down, the Windsor started to come up. And, you know, how did they get all these crazy fast Windsors? Well, some of them have staggered valves, or you want to call it canted valve. So there's no doubt about that, too. They definitely made an advantage there. Let's see what we said. Any chance of a chat with Larry Moe? Yes. I'll tell you a funny thing. I talked to Larry yesterday and a couple days before. So here's how it's going to work with Larry. I don't know about doing a live chat. He's thinking about it. He's pretty humble, and I don't know. But here's what he wants to do. Now, Larry Moe is one of the greatest head porters you'll ever see. You know, it's one of Darren's heroes, actually. Darren told me that the other day. Now, what he said was he has a program called Pipe Max and also Performance Trends. He made these programs. These are like one of the top when it comes to simulation stuff. So Larry wants to do my engine and my combination. So he wants me to send, I'm going to send him all the information I have on my Cougar, the 409 Cleveland, dyno, everything. And we're going to see exactly what that thing has for potential, what changes it should have in his mind and his theory of working this up, and how good this combination really is when you compare it to everything else that's out there. So he also sent me Bob Glidden. You can't see it now, but his tunnel ram from the 79 Plymouth Arrow. And I'm making a video on that. I've been saying that for probably a couple months. I just haven't got around to it because I got so much other videos already ahead of it. But wait till you see that intake. You want to see something Bob Glidden ported. It's a piece of work. So thanks, Perry, for saying good night. They said good night. Appreciate that. I got 2 lives on right now. This one, so I have to bug later. Robert, the assassin cylinder head. Yes, I'm here. Okay. I got to figure out how to get him. Link isn't working, but I'm here. Okay. So if you're here, here's what I'll tell you. That link that I sent you, you have to log in with your Facebook. I just did it and tested on my phone. You log in with your Facebook password or your YouTube password. So that's how you do it. So I'm not sure how you did try to log in, but that's how it works. So I don't see any more questions. So let's keep rolling on. And I don't know if, let me just try one thing. I'm not going to, no, I'm not going to do it. I can't go back and do that. So we'll get you on, Robert, for a minute and kind of go over that. Steve says, new Hedman long tubes, high-rise intake, 600 carb ignition. Yep. And that carb's probably about right for a 302. You might even be able to get something bigger. It really depends on what cam you got going on and the cylinder head flow and what cylinder heads you're using. The heads have Cleveland markings on them and blocks. So it's done at the Cleveland foundry, not the Canada foundry, the Windsor foundry. Turns out it has 30 over Mustang pistons in it, so 30 over. So that's a good 306, I think that comes out to. That thing can make some good power there. John says, Glidden's porting always showed a lot of work, what little I've seen of it. Right. Now, I'll tell you, Larry told me a couple things if you want to hear a couple Glidden tidbits, so to speak. Now, when Bob ordered his pistons, he always ordered them with, I thought he said, with the crown not finished. So you never really knew what his compression height was. Everything was secret with Bob. The same with the rods. He ordered the rods extra long, so he would cut them down to his length to match his pistons. He didn't want anybody knowing what length rod he got. So he got everything long and cut everything down to fit. He was telling me the story, and you may have heard Scooter Brothers tell the story, but Larry was telling me how he took a camshaft and put it into his lathe and then set up a fixture that mounted a roller lifter and a spring set up with a rocker arm or something like that. And what he did is he made the first spintron. He said he would sit there for hours. I don't know if he had a strobe light or what, but he would spin that lathe up so fast and try to see what RPM it was that the valve lifter roller, the roller tip and the cam lobe interface, when it would start to pull away or cause valve lock. He was studying that way back, like in the 80s or something. It might even be before that, Larry was telling me. And he said one of the fastest was the 500 cubic inch Boss 9 motor. So I want to say it was the AR, Aries Root. That engine, they had 3 or 4 of them built at a time. They would race with one, qualify with one, and the final race was done with one and rounds with another. It was kind of, he's got to tell the story. I don't want to tell it wrong. But what he said was they had this Boss 9, 500 cubic inch AR Hemi, and it always made like 25 or 30 horsepower more. And they would always put that in for the final round because something about that engine, they never really figured out during racing. So what happened was at the end of the race time, they pulled the engines down at the end of the season, and they sent the cams to Scooter Brothers. Now, Bob and Scooter had a great relationship, and Bob told Scooter, and even Scooter had said it, if you ever talk to anybody else about my camshafts, I'll never talk to you again. And Bob meant that. Bob was really adamant about that. So now to digress, let me just put this out there. Keep Rusty in your prayers. Rusty called me the other day, yesterday actually. He had some health issues. He's doing good now, but he'll be all right. But keep him in your prayers. I wanted to mention that. So they took these engines down and they sent the engines to Scooter Brothers. And Bob said, I want you to make another cam just like this one. And that was the one that had the fastest camshaft, the fastest engine, made like I said, 25 or 30 horsepower more. They sent it there. Scooter calls him back a week later and said, listen, we're going to make these camshafts, but you don't want it. This one's made wrong. And he talked about the one that made the most power. And Bob's like, no, I want that cam made. And there was an argument ensued and swearing or whatever. And then the long story short is what happened was they ended up putting the wrong lobes on that camshaft, meaning they had them reversed. They had the exhaust lobe on the intake and the intake on the exhaust for the profile. That's why that thing was faster than the other camshafts or the other engines that had the camshafts the way that Comp Cams designed them. So that kind of just shows you, experimentation. Hey, it happens. Like someone said, weird science. So there it is. And you're right. He put the time in. Wait till you hear Larry talk about the hours that he would put in working there. So let's see. Bad 505 says, I'll guess your Cougar best fits NHRC-SMA. Darren is surely capable of helping you set a lofty goal for yourself. Good luck. You know what I mean? I don't even think I'm ready for any of that kind of professional stuff. I'm just some old guy in his garage that has goals, personal goals. I'm trying to set them, and I'm trying to run certain numbers with this old piece of iron with that block that's 54 years old. That's all I'm trying to do. And I know it's going to be in the 19s when I come back out. Looking at those cylinder heads of what I have and the compression that was probably lost with valves moving around in there and a valve job that's been beat on for over 6 years. We'll see it. Now, I have another camshaft I might try out, but I'll bring on another guy. And then I'm not sure, Ed, how we're going to bring you in since you can't be on here live. It's kind of hard to do that. We might just have to schedule one. But anyways, so I talked with Cam Motion, and they want to do a live chat. The guy's name is Robbie, and he does all the camshaft work. And they got a hold of me at PRI, and they said, listen, we'd like to come on and talk and do some camshaft. I had talked to Daniel Paulo. He really wasn't comfortable about doing it or didn't want to or something. He said he would if I really pressed him. And we even talked about some camshaft design. But Cam Motion kind of put the carpet out there, and they said, look, we'd like to at least design a cam for your Cougar. At least tell you what we have. We have these nice cam cores, and Robbie would like to at least try it and put your numbers in and see what they could come up with. I said, hey, if you want to try that, that's fine. So we'll see what they have to say, and I would like to bring them on for a talk with camshafts. Now, I had talked to Billy Godbold, and I'll tell you, Billy told me, he said, listen, Tim, I would love to come on with you and Darren, and I'm going to try to do it, but I'm so busy. I'm booked out. Billy is booked out 42 weeks in advance. That's how popular Billy is to talk on camshafts. But I emailed him about a week ago, and he said that he's going to try to do something and get us on, at least if he can check out an hour of time, he would do it for us. So I may hook up and get Cam Motion on here. Hey, now just power, you can't do with too much. So let me tell you something that we got here. Oh yeah, John was mentioning about Bob's camshaft profiles, how they're reversed. I know. And there's more that you will not believe what Bob did with camshafts. Larry told me that he would have, I mean, I'm talking hundreds of camshafts. Bob would get a cam, and I don't want to ruin his stories because they're so good. But Bob could take a camshaft and look at it before he even got it out of the box and tell him, that's not going to work. It's going to beat up my valve train. That's not a good design. That's how good Bob Glidden was with camshafts. So here's what Terry Grove said. Tim, Bob offered to sell me his EXP roller. They told me $40,000 if I remember right. And I said, I don't have 40 cents. And he laughed so hard. Well, I'll tell you what, Terry. My old engine builder bought that car. Now, if you remember, you've seen videos of me with Bob Beach. Bob's in his 80s now. I think he's 83. In fact, I got to call him tomorrow. And because we were talking about putting together a motor to start a new build. But anyway, so Bob bought that EXP. When I first met Bob in 2005 is when he built one of my engines. That's when I first met him. And he told me, and that's how we got into the guide thing, because he said, listen, I'm going to tell you, you put those guides in that cylinder head, it's going to hang a valve up on the dyno. And I said, oh, no, I'm not changing anything, blah, blah, blah. And it hung up on the dyno and dropped a valve. And that's when I remember that Bob put new valve guides in there. And then I sent him off to a guy who died a while back, Jeff Koblowski, RIP Jeff. He owned Modern Cylinder Head, a lot of super stock Hemi stuff. He did the porting on that after I put the guides in, but cut the head. And when I brought it to put it on the engine, a 385 Cleveland I was building, we'd end up having to cut the pistons. And I said, forget it. And that's how those heads got on there. Pretty sure they're original guides from the 80s. But I saw that car in his garage. I remember I went in there and looked at it, and I was like, oh, wow, it is Glidden's car. And it was set up, it had an aluminum big block Chevy in it at the time. And that's what it was raced at, because that car was set up originally for what? A small block Ford, Cleveland, right? 351 Cleveland it was set up for, an aluminum block Cleveland. That's how that was set up. That's why they called it the Frog. And that's why it just did not hook up with a 500 cubic inch Boss 429. It just was not the best car. So that car is still in Ohio, last I knew. So let me see what Robert says. I'm fine, but let's announce at the end of the show if you want. Okay. Oh, wait, he's there now. I see you now. Okay. Hang on, Ed. Let me figure out, let me get you on here. Okay, guys, let me fit us up here. Perfect. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. That means fit us up here. Perfect. Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Where's that coming from? Do you got a TV on or something?
I can hear you fine.
Where's that coming from? Do you have a TV on or something? No, there's an echo, dude.
What about now?
Where's that coming from? Do you have a TV on or something? No, there's an echo, dude.
Give me just a second.
It's delayed. So anyways, you mess with that and we'll figure it out, but something's delayed there. So
tomorrow morning, or do they usually have something you like?
I'm going to pull him off for now, just so he can try to figure that out. And then you message me when you're ready to come back on, Ed. So I'll kind of finish up where we're talking about. So we got Larry Sullivan now. We got Nick McCallis coming back here. Ed wants to talk about the Assassin cylinder heads. We're going to talk with him. I had talked about Cam Motion. I'm going to mention something about the head being cracked on here. because I put that video up there about it being cracked and why it's cracked. Well, it's cracked because of a couple things. One, is it valve train stress because I don't use a girdle? People had mentioned that, and that could be contributory. I'm not denying that. But with the Yellowtail rockers, you don't need that stud girdle, and you don't need guide plates. I've been racing them for over 20 years and never had any issues. So I don't really think that's the definite issue. But I think the issues are the fact that it's lost 2 pounds on, give or take, on being ported. So it's got eggshell castings. It's got core shift. Those cylinder heads, I've talked to Joel DuBois, and he said those cylinder heads have a problem with cracking anyways back in the NASCAR days. So it's not uncommon at all. Also, like I said, being thin, the fact that they're being stressed with heat and everything, hey, they got beat up a little bit. So hopefully I can bring them back. And then, like I said, Claude that I made the video with, C.H.E, he's going to supply all the new seats for it, all the new guides for it. And we're going to get them tuned up. Darren's going to weld them back together. And then, who knows, he may even be able to get some more flow out of them. But he really said that engine in the back, that thing needs at least 825 of lift or a little bit more, and it needs 14.7. And he said that thing will make 800 horsepower. So whether the block can handle that, we don't know. I don't see Ed there, so we'll keep going. I remember Rusty talking about how it was pretty unstable, so to speak, once you got up past the 8th, is what he was saying. Bad 505 said Harold Brookshire, RIP Ultradyne, was authority on camshaft lobe design, one of the first to use CAD. His cams were a majority of record holders, and the numbers were ground off. So that's good to know. And in fact, what happened was, and you can correct me, Bad 505, is that after Harold died, all of his cam profiles, his library, that's what Bullet bought. Bullet Racing Cams bought that library and has been basing their camshafts on that. Now, remember, we're talking way back in the 80s, you know, sometime in the 90s. I don't know when Ultradyne was done. I can still see their logo in my head. In fact, I got a couple Ultradynes, I think, and a couple General Kinetics. So I'd love to put them on a motor and try that out and see what we have. So let me see if I can bring Ed on here again. How about now?
How do I sound?
Perfect.
Good.
Okay. So when I hear that echo and I'm doing okay, then I know it's the other guy's equipment, so to speak. So sometimes you can use earphones. This is just FYI for everybody. And when we come back on and do one another time, earphones, sometimes there's echo cancellation on StreamYard that you can push a button and that helps. But if I don't hear it here, you guys aren't hearing it there. And I switched to a thing called 1080 on that's why I'm dying to see this afterwards to see if it's any better than 720. So let's talk about where we're at. Now, I had mentioned earlier that Ed has the Assassin big block forward head, and he has a small block forward head now. Now, Ed works for Nichols Performance in Tennessee, Piney Town or something like that, Piney Grove.
Piney Flats.
Yes. Okay. So I'll kind of tell you where I'm at with DragBoss Garage before we kind of lead into everything. But I turned this into a business. You guys know that from before. I have an EIN number, and I set up an account with Nichols Performance. So what I'm going to do for the membership guys, and then eventually you guys, is I'm going to set it up so you can get all your performance parts through us. And it's going to be as cheap as Summit, maybe even cheaper, but as cheap as Summit, and we're going to get it shipped to your door. So Ed and I are working on that. It's in my court now because I need to get the credit card stuff set up, which I'm trying to figure out the best modality for that. But it'd be nice to be able to, you know, when you, and with Ed's situation, he's wholesale. So it's not like you call up Summit or Jegs and talk to someone about buying parts. The problem that I see with these other places, they don't have anybody that knows anything about racing. They don't even have a car that races. So when you ask them about a cam profile, they don't know. They have to look at it. They don't even understand the function of a cam sometimes, you know. So you're getting the benefit of a racer or someone that kind of knows what they're talking about when you get parts through guys like us. So what Ed wants to talk about now is we're going to kind of just go over, and I don't have pictures of it, but we're going to kind of go over the Assassin small block Ford head and some of the plans and stuff that he had to mention. So I'll drop the floor off to you. I can jump in anytime. I'll let you do the talking, Ed McLemore.
Oh boy. Well, the small block Ford head was originally the first head that we did. We just didn't come out with it. We blew it up. We scaled it up to make it a big block, and we had to change some rocker geometry to fit the big block Fords. But we originally done it for the small block Ford, and we knew it was going to be good. We just didn't know how good it was going to be, and I have several video clips that Darren sent me, and my favorite one is "Mother of God, what have you created?" Because he couldn't believe what he was seeing in terms on a flow bench, and I understand. Once he explained it to me, I totally understood. But I mean, we have 3 different flow benches and 3 different flow sheets. It's anywhere from 549 to 552, and that's with a 2-350 intake valve.
And what lift?
1-200.
Okay, so max lift.
Yeah, but at 1 inch, 529 and 534.
Okay.
And since then we've scaled that down to a 2-300, and it's still 510, 515 around 1 inch. People talk about flow numbers all the time, but the most important thing is cross-sectional area for the given combination. And Darren, I hope Darren does a segment about cross-sectional area and airflow demand versus what flow numbers actually produce. Because, 550 CFM small block Ford head, you're going to have a 550 cubic inch small block to use it.
Now, wait a minute. Now we were talking about big block Ford, correct?
No, the big block Ford, we've had it as high as 660.
Okay, so all right, I just want to make sure, because I was getting confused. So you're talking the small block Assassin.
The small block Assassin.
Okay.
Yeah. What I'm going to offer is it's going to be an as-cast CNC chamber with a 2 1/4 intake valve, and that will be pretty much what most people use the most, because it's 450 at 900. And we have a CNC program for a 2-300 and a 2-320 intake valve. I haven't really released them to the general public yet, because we're still working on a manifold. LGM has rockers available for them now.
Mention that, yeah.
Jessel and T&D is actually doing rockers for them too. Since PRI, we at Elite Machine have came up with our own billet piston program for these cylinder heads. So a big block dome, 680 bore. It's billet. It's coated. Comes with total steel rings and tool steel pins. They're $2,600 at retail, which is cheap for a billet piston.
Wow.
And the small block will be a couple of $100 less, just because of the material difference in size.
But you're still talking, a $2,000 set of pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get forgings, and good forgings are $1,500 to $1,800. So you're not really. Some people like forgings. I prefer billets.
Right. I mean, think about it, 1,800 to 2,200. That ain't much difference. You know what I mean?
No.
If you're going that much, yeah.
No, not for what you get in overall weight and just design. You can do a lot more with a billet piston than you can a forging.
It'd be funny, and these are my dreams. These are dreams I talk about myself after we talk. I got these damn Cleveland blocks. I got a couple of them, and I mean, they go for 185 bore. It'd be nice to build one of these Macs and put a set of these heads on it and see what it could do. But one, I'm leery on wasting money like that on an engine block that I don't have a lot of confidence. It's not that I don't have confidence. I don't think it's up to making 1,000 horsepower. It might be good for 600-800. I don't know, but not when you have potential for those cylinder heads. And then you look at the expense. I mean, that's any build like that. That's a $25,000 build right off the bat. Easy. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not no $10,000 build.
We have an engine builder that we're going to do a set for and a billet manifold. He's building a 470 cubic inch small block.
Okay.
I've kind of been, and if he's watching, I'm sorry. I have been slow to get them to you, but I just wanted to wait till we had most of the components available before we actually get them out into circulation. There's 3 sets that are being done right now. 2 sets are going to what I call the pinnacle of small block racing, and that is Australian Pro Stock.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. So that's going to be exciting to watch.
The what was I going to ask you? Oh yeah. So the rocker arms for these heads, whether it's big block or small block. Now you said, I'm pretty sure at PRI, you said that LGM, Terry Wilkes, they have the rocker arms for both?
Yes.
Okay. But also
Yeah,
Jessel does.
Jessel does too. TND has the big blocks, and they come in steel only from TND.
Yep.
And they are working on the small blocks right now.
Okay.
And I think they're going to offer them in steel and aluminum.
Well, I'll kind of tell you where I'm at on with us all talking, because their tables were like right next to each other. You know, Chris Arachko was there also. Chris wants to come on. He said he would come on and do a live chat with me, and kind of, I'm telling you, I'll probably just drive to Michigan and hook up with those guys on a road trip and do a live there. But
and Chris built the motor for the engine for my car, and it's insane. I mean, it averaged 1,500 from 8 to 9,000, and it's a nitrous setup, 630 inches.
Wow, damn it, man! It's way too much for me. But,
way too much for me.
Yeah. Hey, a man can admit it, right?
Right.
Hang on.
I need a driver mod.
And so I was talking with Shelton and Terry Wilkes. So what they're going to do is this. If you see all those cylinder heads behind me, I was working on the video today. You know, I have the prototype heads for the Ford C3 heads. You know, Tony Odo, you probably don't know him, but he's a guy, an engine builder in California, Tony Odo, racing engines. Now he actually built, he designed the intake port, I think it was for the A3 head, and Ernie Elliott did the exhaust port, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I should remember that, but I off the cuff, I can't remember. But he designed those cylinder head, those ports. So he also did the C3, and he died a while back, and his son runs a shop now. So he sent me the prototypes, the C3 prototypes, which are made from A3 cylinder heads, and an intake. You should see the welding that's on here. I'm probably going to try to finish them for my first port job. But he sent me those cylinder heads, and I'm making a video comparing it to the stock A3. Now, Terry wants me to send him the cylinder head and a couple of valves, the A3. I'm going to send him that, and he's going to make a shaft setup for DragBoss Garage. So I have my own shaft rocker arms.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he said he can laser etch on that, and they're going to be reasonably priced. You know, that I'm getting back on that 427 that's at BES. I talked to Tony at PRI. He said, hey, we're just waiting to put it back together. I said, okay, I want to come down there and make a video and then drop off those cylinder heads to have Darren fix them. So I want to get that back because we have everything on there, the camshaft, everything. I mean, pistons, it's all ready to be put back together. So I'm going to send that to Terry, and he's going to make those shaft rocker arm set. He wants to send me a 3D model so I can make a video with it. And then he's going to make the prototype and then send it to me. And I'm going to hopefully put them on these cylinder heads, and I'll race them with it.
We need to be at BES when it's dynoed. We need to do a segment up at BES.
What, that 427 Cleveland?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Cleveland guy at heart.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really, I am.
It should make
it
should make 800 and let me just see if you. Well, Larry was going to come on. It's hard for me to do. I might have him come on and you do the talking. But I'm going to tell you what I got on here because I found the camshaft specs for that, and people kind of wonder what it is. And I was going to put it on there, but here's what Darren sent me. Okay, so this is a 427 aluminum Cleveland. It's a DragBoss engine, Tim Meyer, and the parts were ordered. He's got 904 lifters for it. The cam is 113 separation angle. It's going to be in at 111. The lobe lift is 550. Yeah,
I like it.
That's like 900 and something lift, you know. He said it's a 277, 292 at 050.
With how bad the Cleveland exhaust port is, you kind of got to crutch it a little bit on the exhaust.
Yep. And it's a 175 rocker ratio. So think about that.
I can't do math in my head. I'm a dumb old hillbilly.
We'll try that and see what it comes out. The
550 lobe or 500?
550 lobe.
That's 962 before lash and deflection.
Right.
So
you're going about 930, somewhere around there.
Oh, that's going to sound killer.
And then I got that. Darren sent me the head flow for that, and it's I want to say it's close to 400 at 900 lift.
That's going to be bad.
I mean, all I want is 850 horse, you know, and that with my Cleveland or my Cougar at 3155, 3135 with me in it. I mean, that thing will be in the eights.
Yeah.
870s probably somewhere around there. I don't know. You guys figure it out if you're on here. So
I have a very good friend that runs Cleveland's in super stock, Jeff Lawrence, GTA automatic record holder. He's been I think he's been 885 at 151.
Okay.
With a factory carburetor.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, man.
I think it makes around 740 on his dyno, around 9,200.
I'm just trying something here and see if it works.
But if Larry is wanting to get in here, I just wanted to tell everybody in your channel that you are going to be the primary sponsor for me this year, along with Wilkes Performance and LGM. So, you know, DragBoss Garage is going to be pretty busy. They're going to be doing a lot of YouTube updates on our racing season with PDRA, and when we come out with new products for the big block and the small block Ford, and even an LS, we'll be sharing that with you as well.
Well, thank you. You know, that's a thing, you know, and kind of just bring it in. You know, I'm kind of doing this, trying to do more on this, like 100%, you know, bringing this in and bringing all these people in, not just me. No one wants to just see Tim Halstead working in his garage on a Cleveland. I mean, it's great fun and it's got good content, but it gets to a point where I want to branch out. And that's why I brought you guys, or we talked about it with all these other people, kind of bring them in, because I want a place where guys can come to the channel. And if they want to get something, they can click here and go ahead and they can get what they want. You know, a set of, you know, roller lifters from whoever, you know, bam. Or they want to get something, set of heads or some rocker arms custom made, or something that they have, LGM has for an LS. You know, it comes down to this, you know, Ford versus Chevy. I get so tired of hearing that. You know, am I a Ford man? Yeah, I'm a Ford man. But do I like LS? I like everything. I don't care what it is. Hemis, LS, Chevy 350. I don't care. I love it all. I want to build a Chevy 350 and see if I could do it. You know, I got a set of 18-degree NASCAR heads that I got from Jay Cushman. You know, they need some work, and I would like to learn some cylinder head stuff, so to speak. You know, I have APD. John told me anytime I want to use it, they have a flow bench. They have a SERTI 100. They have a freaking stroker N, Stronaker. I mean, they have everything that I could use if I want to learn this kind of stuff. So it's something I want to branch out and show you guys, because I think guys like this kind of stuff. Not every guy on here can, you know, build a high performance engine. You know, whether they got kids or they don't have the money to do it or they don't have the desire. Some people just don't have, you know, they're 70 years old and they don't have the desire to do it anymore, but they still want to see that stuff. Some guys want to do it and maybe we'll, especially young kids. That's what Darren and I, we talk about. We want to bring this to this younger generation. The guys
Yeah.
I met, like Pat Topolinski, Nick McCallis, they went to SAM. They asked me to call SAM, the School of Automotive Machinists, and have them come on and do an interview with those guys, and have some of their students on. These guys, we want to bring this to other people. This generation that's lost on the phone. All they do is know this. I talked to Warren Johnson, and that's his biggest thing. He can't stand the cell phone. Now does he use it? Yes. Do we text? Yeah. Do we talk on it? Of course. But there's a time and place for everything. And to get these kids away from that and get them using their mind, you're a thinker. To build these assassin heads, it's not something you got out of a cereal box and said, Jesus, I'm going to build these. You have to think, and you want to be a thinker, a leader, not a follower. I tell my girls that.
Absolutely. I was told that I wasn't smart enough to do a cylinder head, and in reality, I wasn't. But I do know enough people to help me along the way. And there's a lot of things in both the big block and the small block head that I just absorbed when I was younger.
Oh,
For
yeah.
instance, the water core on both heads is based off of the JC51 that Darren Morgan and done with Profiler and Ford.
Okay. Yep.
The more water that you can have in a head, the better cooling it's going to be, and also the lighter it is too. For example, I did a big block Chevrolet head, and it's comparative to the big Victor 3.
Yep.
It's 18 pounds lighter per casting.
Significant.
And
Yeah.
it's all because of the water core, the way that we've done the water core. So, that's weight. Weight is a big thing, especially up high on a race car. And it's not a bad head. I mean, it went 590 on BES's bench 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, and yes, I'm a Ford man too, but I do. We have done Chevrolet stuff. We have done quite a bit of Chevrolet stuff, actually.
And I'd like to hear you guys on comments, because I read the comments and I answer them. So I'd like to hear. There's they know. I see there's a lot of Ford guys on here. So I'd like to know what you think about that and branching out to other products. And I'm not just talking Chevy. I'm talking Mopar, whatever's out there, to keep these alive, because who knows who races AMC? There's still guys that love those, just like we love our Fords. In fact, I have a video coming up on some AMC stuff that's going to blow your mind. So I think that's important. Let's take a question here. Bad 505 says, 1983 at Outlaw Pro Stock Match Race, my friend started throwing wads of $100 bills at Jack Roush, daring him to pull the heads off his big inch Cleveland and sell the numbers got so big. Let me he put more, so you read that. He's got more. Then he relented. I maintained those cast iron heads, which were radical than anything I've seen. Okay. So I think he's probably talking about like these iron pro stock heads that I have with the port plates on it. He might be talking about that. Mention if that's what you're talking about, Bad 505. I got a set on the workbench that's been sitting there for like 6 months. I still haven't measured the CCs in the chamber. They are from Jack Roush. They have the fin in them, and I want to go flow them, and I want to put them on an engine and see what they do. So comment on that, 505. Steve Clayton says, I will let you know the results once it's finished. I always load videos to my channel of the trucks running and driving. Yep. Now he's putting together a 302 with, I forgot what he said now, 30 over pistons, nothing crazy, but, he's going to build it. And that's what we like to see, stuff like that. See what it does for horsepower. See how it produces, we'll say. Oh, that's the thing I was going to ask you. So right now, the small block is set. Can you say where that engine's at? Being built? Or you don't want to say?
Don't want to say yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Is it something that I can get video? Is it something because if you didn't know where it was, you can get video and take pictures of what the pistons look like. And
you're actually pretty close to the shop, and I can probably arrange it to where you can go over there and video the components and the assembly and the actual dyno. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think
Yeah.
that would be a great idea.
Yeah. And the engine builder, he's very good. He does a lot of small block Fords. He is getting into some big block Fords now, but his bread and butter is the small block Ford platform. So it's going to be good.
And he's
And
near me. Hmm.
yeah, I will message you once we
Yeah,
get
because
off,
I'm
and I'll
trying
tell
to
you
think
who it
who's
is.
near
Yeah.
me. There's not a lot of shops near me, other than if you went to Columbus. And actually, I don't know anybody else around here. One other company.
Well, close to me is 5-6 hours or less. I mean,
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
could do
I've been
that.
on road trips where I've been up 20 straight hours. So
Okay.
that's you're within about 5 hours of
Oh,
him.
yeah, that's close.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's nothing. Okay. Let me see.
and I will send you a casting so you and Darren can do a little presentation on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got 12 sets right now. We're ordering more January 1st. I'm not real now that everybody's coming out. The only thing that we have left to do is a manifold, and it's really close to being done. But once I want 20 sets of everything on the shelf before I start really pushing anything.
Okay.
Because I done it the exact opposite with the big block Ford. I was selling them as fast as I could make them, and I still can't keep up. I mean, I still owe people 3 sets of heads from almost a year because
Okay.
I can't keep up. So we've ordered 20 sets of each,
Got it.
and once we get up, probably around March, April, that's when I'll start releasing this stuff so for people to buy.
Okay.
There's going to be 3 versions, the ASCAS CNC, and then I'm probably going to do a titanium intake valve stainless exhaust on that to try to keep the cost down. But the other 2 versions will be titanium valves, PSI springs, DLC coated locks,
Nice.
probably maybe even DLC coated titanium retainers. We're working on that.
We're ready for it, baby. He came back. He said, I've seen all the vids on your cast iron heads. They were well beyond those. Well, I'll tell you a story. I hooked up with a guy at PRI. He invited me to come up to Roush's and talk with Jack. Now, Jack's not going to do an interview on tape or anything like that, but he invited me to come up. Jack said I could come up there, talk with him personally, take notes, whatever I want. And then he said I could go ahead and go through and have a private tour of everything, including his cars, getting any of the cars I want to do, take a tour of the shop, whatever I want to do, he's going to hook me up. So I'm pretty excited about that. Kyle, I haven't forgotten. I'll probably try calling you. I got you on the list for tomorrow's phone calls and see if we can arrange that, because, that's an honor for me to be able to go up there and talk with him. And I have a bunch of.
If you need somebody to drive you, I'll volunteer.
Okay. Yeah. He invited me and Zeus. He said, you can bring the dog if he
That
wants
would
to
be
see him.
cool.
I said, okay. I'm really pumped about that because it's a special honor. And I'd like to get some information from him about, some of the, I have some of his parts here. I have some of his heads, cams, a bunch of pistons and rods that he still have his writing on it. He wrote with a little tiny engraver on stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd like to put that stuff together, at least, like I'm saying, that's what I'd like to do, is have an engine mule that I could just dyno, put heads on it, different cam, and see what it does, and just kind of produce stuff like that.
You touched on something earlier, the younger generation. I'm really about the younger generation. I have 2 grandkids. They're both they're twins, 13.
Yeah.
They love going to the races with me. One of them was actually going to sit in with me until he decided to go to his friend's house. But probably the most fun that I've had at the racetrack was the Bristol event. I hadn't raced in 5 years, but I had 16 kids come to my pits and have pictures made sitting in the car. That was great to me. Kids taking interest in this stuff, and that's what it's going to take to keep the industry and the sport alive.
Right. No doubt about that, man. And that's why my girls are involved with it. Not like they used to be. They kind of, as they got older, now it's like it's just different. There's a lot of things going on, and they're not as much as into it. Although Izzy, with the car that I said, listen, this is yours now. I'll build it with you, and then you can do whatever. She really, how she wants. Probably a driver. I don't know if she's going to be racing the G-Force. Who knows? That's her opportunity. It's my opportunity too, because I've never driven a stick car, and I can't wait to. Man, I am just pumped with that thing. I sit in that thing, and I talked to Leonard Long, and he said, once you do it, Tim, you may think about getting a stick in that damn Cougar because you're going to be hooked on it. You're not going to blow up the transmission. It's a whole different world, he said. So let me see what some guys say here. You could. This is Dr. Ron. You could consider adding the second car. Yeah, you don't already. I'm definitely going to do that. I mean, this combination, I'm definitely going to try tunnel ram. I actually already have a sheet metal tunnel ram for those heads, A3 heads. I don't know how good it is, but I bought it a long time ago. So I'd like to try that. You're right. He says, Tim, your comments on using camshaft with 825 lift, optimum head work, along with maximum compression, will yield 800. Yes, that's nearly identical to the specs of my 800 horsepower, 311-inch Boss 302. Yes, but look at the difference in cubic inch. You think about that. That thing's got right. That's Buck. I think Buck did that engine. A guy named Buck, if I'm not mistaken. Buck Brothers Racing, I think. He'll correct me, but yeah, I would like to do the maximum on that thing and see what we could do with the iron block stock stuff. You could consider, yes, we talked about that. Grover Boys. I'll never forget Tony Christian let me sit in his 57 Chevy. That was probably 28 years ago. Yeah, I remember that car.
I do too.
That black 57 Chevy, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he was the kind of guy, he reminds me a little like Pat Musey. Pat Musey is the kind of guy like when I was a kid, he had Popeye and he was the Nitrous King and all that, the fastest street cars was coming out. If you remember that, you're in the same age bracket as I am, Ed. So you kind of probably remember all that. And he was a cocky bastard. I didn't really like him at that time. He was total 100% Chevy. But then after I met him and started talking to him on the phone and all, it's like, Jesus, man, he's just like us. He just, he just sees orange, not blue. And it's funny. And Tony Christian was the same way. You know what I mean? A real cocky guy, and they were good at what they did. There's no doubt about it. They were good racers, and that's back then to me, that was the pinnacle of racing, that early stuff from, the 70s to like the 90s is really to 2000 is probably my most favorite years of racing, maybe 2005, Yeah,
when NHRA had all three brands competing.
Yeah.
That was the pinnacle to me. And Mountain Motor Pro Stock when they were running quarter mile, and it's making a comeback in the IHRA. I bet they'll have 30 cars to try and qualify at some of these races.
IHRA is taken over, man, and it's like, I don't know if the recent one was bought by Durana guy. That guy. I'm not sure if he bought that track or if it's just IHRA in general. Do you know anything on that?
Yeah, he bought the track.
Okay, let me grab some. Yeah, him and his sister are kind of like partners in it or whatever, and they've been buying the tracks up. That's what Durana is, his name and her name. I think his name is Daryl, and she's Anna or something like that.
Yeah, Daryl Cuddle.
There it is. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know much about that guy. Now, I heard from a source told me that he's papered up, for one, and I thought he said that some oil company was backing him up too and helping out. But financially, that guy's well off. I don't know much about him, and I suspect come on, who's buying 4 or 5 tracks at a time? The guy's got to have money coming out his ass, And
he's going to make the IHRA great again.
He is?
He. I
mean, how do you know this? Do you know the guy or something?
I don't know him. No, I've spoke to Larry Morgan a couple of times.
Okay.
One of the guys that races the class with me, Jason Ventura. He knows some of the people. The president that was just announced, he knows her really well, and that they talk quite frequently.
Okay.
I think the IHRA is going to be a great thing. They treat the racers phenomenal.
I'm telling you, their track, at least in now I go to NHRA Summit. That's my home track. It's 20 minutes from my house. One of the best in the country. Beautiful. Everything is beautiful about it. The track looks like crazy. However, I've been going up to Durana in Michigan, the old mile in Michigan, and that to me is a better track in the track itself. I mean, my car hooks, best 60-foot times I have is every time I go there, it's pulling my teeth out. Thing leaves so hard. You know, the track, the pit area is beautiful. There's still some trees there. You know, it's just a real nice facility, and they do take care of the racer. I mean, you go up and ask them about something, they're right there. You know, and I think NHRA with their bureaucratic machine ensemble, guys are getting tired of that. I don't think there's no pro stock anymore. It's pro Camaro, like they say, and who wants to see just one car race?
And they, like so many other huge conglomerates, they lose sight of its base.
Racer and the spectator. You know, it's really the spectator. It's not just us racers. It's the spectator. That's where the money's coming from.
I agree with that, but you have to. Okay, so the spectators pay to watch the show. Okay,
Right.
The racers need to. They are the show, and they need to be appreciated like they are the show.
Sure.
All the way down to people running, Ford Escorts, bracket racing. They need to be appreciated, because without people like that, that's starting from the bottom with a $500 beater like I did.
Yeah.
They have to love it, and they have to be treated fairly to keep doing it.
And here's a perfect synopsis. You ready?
Yeah.
Greg says NHRA stands for No Happy Racer Allowed. I never heard that. And I don't like talking bad about them. You know, I remember when I was a kid, it was like NHRA, I got the sticker and I put it in my window, and I thought I was a big racer at 15, because I raced a couple races, and but I don't know. It's just it left a bad taste in your mouth, in my mouth, in regards to the stuff that I see all the classes going down.
Yeah, I think the Sportsman Series is highly overlooked, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
I love stock and super stock, 1090, 990, super gas, super comp, top sportsman. I actually love top sportsman. Those guys are overlooked, and they are the most committed to what they do, because they don't have big corporate sponsors writing the bills. These guys go to work every day to support their hobby and their passion.
I like this. That's how I was about. Yeah, I agree. And Greg says, yeah, Austin Coyle told me that one. Remember Austin Coyle? That was John Force's crew chief.
Yeah.
And I think he's retired now. I don't even know. Is John retired? I think he retired or was retired. Had one last run or something.
I think he did retire.
Yeah.
I think he did.
So we got 48 people on here. We've been on for an hour and a half. Thank you guys for being on here. It's crazy. I'm trying to see a couple things. I told you about Bullet Racing coming aboard and Nick Bacalus, guys. So he built that 632 big block Chevy at PRI. If you want to try to win it, it's a free chance to win. Hey, you never know. But you just go to enginelabs.com, look it up, and you can put it an entry. I'm going to do it too, because if I win it, I win it. And wait till you see the interview with Nick. I went and saw him at the PRI, and that's how I found out about that. And I said, well, I'm a Ford guy. What am I going to do with it? Wait till you see his response. It'll be pretty funny. Now, I did talk to another guy, and Doug Schaefer. Now, he's hooking me up with John Kazi. He said, listen, I'll help you get him on for a live chat and give me a call. So that's on my list. I say it's on my list because I swear to God, I have a list of phone numbers that I have to go through and call like 3 or 4 people and either leave a message or talk to them for a little bit, then go do something, come back. You know, it's constant phone calls. And
funny story.
Yeah.
My dad and uncle had their first Cleveland built by John Kazi. I think it was around 81. They still have the original invoice from Kazi. It was $1,881 for a complete engine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That is. It's just it's crazy now. I mean, now you got $1,800 in a decent crank and rods.
Without a doubt. I bought this motor off of Mike Weeks hooked me up with it. It was in Michigan. And that's how I found out it was a Tony Odo motor, because I thought it has Roush on the valve covers. And the guy thought it was from Roush. In fact, he should come on for live chat. He has Bob Glidden's 69 Mustang convertible that he raced. He's got a bunch of rare stuff. But he sold me this engine, and he said, oh, yeah, it's a Jack Roush circle track engine. It's based on an XE Cleveland block. It's a dry sump. Well, I ended up featuring it on the YouTube channel here, DragBoss Garage. And it had TOE 548 all over it. And one of the subscribers said, dude, that is a TOE. That's a Tony Odo engine. And I used to work there, and that's the code for the number. So I called up Tony Odo engine. That's how I kind of got hooked up with Tony Jr., because the father had died. And he said, listen, that's one of our engines. And he said, I'll send you he sent me a whole packet of all the information, all the build specs, the dyno sheets, everything on this engine. In 1983, that engine sold for $14,000 used. Yeah. Used. It was in the Mustang, the GTP Mustang that Ford had, and Bruce Jenner drove it.
Wow.
So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think I'm going to bring it to my buddy Bob Beach. We're going to take it apart, clean it up, and fire it just the way it is, or just fire it up, get an oil pump, and see if it'll start. I don't know. It's one of those things you just don't know. Let's see what else we got here. So Shelton said, and we were just talking that, yeah, they only care about classes, top fuel, right? And top funny cars. That's it, you know. And Warren Johnson, I'll tell you, he gets so pissed if I mention that stuff, you know. And he says, yeah, they wreck the track for us. They put all that the fuel down on it, makes it slippery, it makes it, oh yeah, anyone can drive one of that, you know. He just does not care for that at all. And it's true. They didn't care about the pro stock guys or the sportsman racers or anything like that. So thanks.
The people that drive pro stockers let out a clutch, shift it yourself off of a lot. That's a whole different level.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Let's see what he says. Now this is Adam Grover, and that's Terry's son. I still have the Keystone MRA decal across the windshield of my Mustang for when my dad owned it. Okay.
Cool.
I used to have the NMRA license plate frame, because I used to race in NMRA, but just the bracket stuff back in 2000, 2001, 2, 3. All my buddies in Columbus, that's when I lived in Columbus, we all raced in NMRA. They came to Columbus. It was like a big deal. And then we go to wherever, 42 with them and stuff. Dr. Ron says, my Boss 302 was built as a challenge project. Al Parker, that's who it was. Al Parker Racing Engines in Newton, Iowa, a top Chevy sprint car engine builder. So I was wrong on Buck Brothers, but Al Parker. Thank you. 1,800, I'll buy 10 of them. Yes, you would. 1,800 for the engine.
It made, and here's the thing, it made 525 horsepower at 6,800 RPM.
What was
it? 525.
No, what kind of engine?
The first one that Kazi did for my dad.
What was it?
It was a 20 over Cleveland.
Okay. Okay.
with a flat tappet, single 4-barrel deal. And after about 850 runs,
Yeah.
it blew up because we went to a
800.
solid roller. 850.
Yeah.
It blew up because we went to a solid roller with comp lifters, and the lifter gave way.
Yeah.
That was the last comp lifter ever
Same
in
here. I had the same
in
thing
an
happen.
engine.
And then I went to
Yeah.
Crane Ultra Pro. Yep.
Yeah. Bam has a great lifter. They actually have a assassin specific lifters.
Nice. I'll get Brad on here. He'll come on. Although we kind of told his story, but I want him to come on. It's a lot different when a guy's talking to you like this on YouTube rather than you see the video. You know, there's more interaction and inflection and stuff like that. What's Bad say? Bad 505. The most significant Cleveland powered race car of all time was John Lingenfelter's Cleveland powered Monza. Won 2 national events. Resulted in a weight penalty being leveled against the Clevelands. I can't say it's the most significant, but it's bad. No doubt about that. John Lingenfelter, man. And that actually was Bob Glidden's that was his Monza. He raced in Pro Stock 1 year in 76. But according to what I heard, you know, the timing, the balancer moved or something, and he could never get it to run right. I don't know the whole story. But that's where that car came from. Let's see. Somebody else said something. Yeah, he raced the last event at ATCO. That was NMRA. Did you race any of that, Ed?
No.
Okay. How old are you?
47.
47. Spring chicken, baby.
I feel like 97.
Yeah, sometimes I bet you do. Now, I always thought those were your sons that I see in your Facebook stuff, but it's your grandsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
They're my grandkids. They live with us, and they're spoiled rotten, but man, they talk to me about everything. So I feel like I'm winning with them because they talk to me about everything.
Well, that's what you need. That's a good thing for the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, they love racing. So it's like I have two mini me's running around all the time, fighting each other.
I'm going through some of the cards that I have to kind of talk about some of the people that I'm going to have on here. Now, I'm looking for his card, but I don't know if I'm going to find it quick enough. But I already know it off the top of my head. But it's rare valves. Now, Zeke Urteria, I think is his last name. And I talked about him coming on and talking to us about that. So he'll be here. Bam will be here. What's that?
Wow.
Oh. And another company that I've talked to was Quick Performance. Now, Quick Performance, I think they're in Missouri. I got their card right here. And Iowa. Because I kind of they invited me to come out and check out their shop. Now I have their Quick Performance rear end. I have the whole center section and the whole fabricated 9-inch in my Cougar. And they want to come on, and I want them to come on and kind of talk about their product. You know, when we think about rear ends, we think, oh, Mark Williams this, and I don't know who else even makes stuff like that.
Strange Engineering, Carmack.
There you are. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now,
Mittler Brothers makes fabricated housing. There's a lot of companies.
Who do you pick? Well, they've already serviced me. They already gave me something to work with at one time, and I think they're good guys to bring on. So I'll bring them on there. We'll talk about what they have to offer, and I'll take a tour down there, and we'll make a product video on their whole factory of how they do stuff. So I think that'd be pretty cool. I'll tell you a story. I went to Cone Engineering to talk with them about a converter. And I went there like 3 times. And the guy, Jason, that I wanted to talk to was busy. I wanted to kind of get him on for a live chat and that kind of stuff. And the guy told me they really don't do that much. They don't do live chats, you know. And I'm like, well, okay, but I at least like to talk to him. So he was busy, and I said, oh, I'm walking over to ATI. Now for ATI, I have an ATI balancer. You probably can't see it there, but I have their dampener, and I have their torque converter. The same torque converter I've been racing for 27 years. So I go over there and I start talking to this guy that's kind of wearing a shirt like this, nothing special, scruffy kind of beard, didn't shave, and I was asking him about, is there a Charlie? Does Charlie still work there? And he said, Chuck. And I said, well, could be Chuck, Charlie. He's probably an old guy by now. I mean, I have a converter from 27 years ago. He said, yeah, that's Charlie. He still works there. He's getting on the age. He only works from like 10 to 2. And I said, Jesus, I said, I still got their converter. Maybe you guys would like to talk about stuff. Maybe come on and talk about converters. I might think about getting a new one. And he asked me a couple questions about it. And I said, I'm going to get a balancer for that 354 Cleveland. I said, I probably maybe get hooked up with that. And I said, who are you? He said, well, I used to clean the floors when Charlie was 27 years ago. And I said, oh, do you work there? He goes, I own the place. And I'm like, oh. He goes, yeah. I said, well, you don't look like the owner. He said, good. And we talked for a while and stuff. And he gave me his card. He said, look, you call up and talk to Stuart Smith, the guy that does all the marketing, and he'll hook you up. We'll get him on live for a live chat. So I like to see companies like that produce. You know what I mean?
Yeah. ATI is a great company. I sell a lot of their products.
Okay.
Zero issues with any of them.
So if you sell them, I can sell them.
Yes.
There it is.
We have over 1,800 product lines. So pretty much anything that you want to offer to your subscribers, we can get. I mean, there's some stuff that I will kind of advise you not to do, but I mean, if it's,
I don't want to do anything. I'm talking race oriented stuff, not like little trucks and this kind of stuff. Although I did talk to a guy named Will Terry. I don't know if he's watched that, but he does watch DragBoss Garage. Now he has a YouTube channel called Power Driven Diesel. So he wanted to come on. We're going to do a live chat with him. I'd like him to present some diesel stuff. I know how they operate, the basics, but I don't know how they get 2,000 horsepower out of a Cummins. So I'd like to know that, a 6-cylinder. I'd like to know what they do to these engines to make them be that strong. So they're going to do a live chat with me.
Where the foundry is, where the cylinder heads are poured, they pour a Cummins block.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Wow.
Yeah, I could probably get you some videos of that. Actually, if you're pretty close to the foundry, I can arrange that for you too. You can go over there when we're pouring some heads or intakes, something like that.
Sure, that'd be good. I'd like to do that. Be a great time. And I talked to, while I was there, I talked to Dart, and everybody has a bad taste in their mouth about race winning brands. Private equity groups own and all that, and we know that they've kind of ruined a lot of companies. That the latest one was Bill Tooley Racing, and I don't know really what's going on with all that, but Dart is owned by them, and as far as I'm concerned, until there's somebody that's producing engine blocks like they are, I mean, they're one of the top guys. And now I'd done a short or reel. I already posted on both YouTube and Facebook. I talked to Steve Rohde. He's the general manager for the engine department. And they invited me down for a tour in Mentor, Ohio, to go through where they do some of the engine blocks that they pour here. Now, the new C.H.E, that's actually done in Germany, the same as Summit's block. And I'm telling you, I saw one down there, and that thing was a beautiful piece of iron. No porosity. I mean, the finish was unbelievable. And whatever.
It's a very well-made piece.
And you guys, do you guys sell a lot?
Yes, we sell a lot.
Okay.
We sell a lot of Dart blocks and Summit blocks.
The other person that I talked to was Mike Knowles from Diamond Pistons. Some people have had some bad experience with them, but whatever. I'm into learning about what I can and providing information for these guys to give them options and to learn what they can. And if we can get some pistons going and build some engines with them, hey, let's do it. Can't hurt.
No company's ever going to be perfect, but the two companies that you just mentioned, Dart and Diamond, a lot of people need to ask themselves this: if Dart and Diamond wasn't doing what they're doing, industry would be pretty hurt, considering how many blocks Dart does as a company. You know,
Now I had talked to GibTech Pistons. That guy used to work for Diamond. He left. I forgot his name now, and started GibTech. Now those are all billet pistons. I talked to him about doing a live chat. He said, "Oh, I might," and then he says, "I'll call you back," and I never heard back. And it's just like me or you. We get busy and we forget. That's why I have to write things down, maybe because I'm getting older. But when you do this kind of thing, you can't expect people to always call you back. You got to be proactive and kind of and keep going and pursuing it. Just because I like Diamond or I got to talk to someone doesn't mean I wouldn't talk to GibTech. Hey, that might be what I want to do. There isn't much difference from a forge to a billet. You just said that is a few $100.
You're bringing spotlights to businesses that support our industry. There's no negative in that. You could do all the piston manufacturers. There's no negative to any of them. There's just like TD, LGM, Jessel. I mean, they make rocker arms, and all three of them, in my opinion, are great companies.
Sure.
Manton makes rocker arms as well. Manton makes push rods. Great stuff.
I've seen their rocker arms, man. They're beautiful looking.
Yeah.
Dr. Ron says, I was never treated so well as the 11 years I toured with IHRA in Superstock. I won't spend any of my money going to race with NHRA. Well, there you go. Thank you, Dr. Ron.
And it's unfortunate because stock in the super stock classes are really, other than pro stock, the greatest classes around, in my opinion, because you have to run stock stuff. So these guys that are making 700, 600, 700, 800 horsepower with stock cylinder heads and blocks, that's a feat.
Now, bring this up. Terry Wilkes is here. Good to see you, Terry. Don't forget the Wilkes guy on the rocker parts. You're damn right we won't forget. We already mentioned about doing the custom rocker arms for the Cleveland, and he has them for the LSs and for the Ford. I thought they were trick flow heads. So he's got a lot. And I want to go down there. He's in, where is he now? Georgia?
Alabama.
Mm-hmm. I'm going on road trips pretty soon. I'm going to load up and we're headed out on the road, and we're going traveling because we're going to Terry Wilkes. We're going to see LGM, Sheldon Bars. We're going to MBE cylinder heads, going down to Pat Musey's. Warren Johnson invited me down, so I'm going down there. We're just going to start on the road and start. I said I want to do that, and I'm going to start doing it.
When you go to Terry's, there will probably be a new LS cylinder head down at his shop that is gangbusters.
Well, we'll have the exclusive on that.
Yes. Yeah, I just dropped that little teaser.
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
And Terry and LGM, they are doing some stuff in their rockers that nobody else is doing, and it's some pretty high technology that they're doing. So I can't wait till they actually release that and explain it to the public. It's going to be a step above what's currently available.
Got it. And Adam Grover said, a good friend of mine has a QuickTime Performance 9-inch in his Malibu. Been in the car 10 or 15 years, so I want to say it has 3,500 to 4,000 shipped to the door. Okay, I think it's cheaper than that, but we'll find out. Here's another businessman right here. Optimum Performance. So thank you. Great guy.
That guy, I like him a lot. And we was talking about people that service the industry. Yeah, I believe he won the camshaft challenge.
Right.
And he's a normal guy, just like me or you, but he says that he is an events guy when it comes to camshafts. And honestly, that's probably the smartest thing I've ever heard from somebody that does camshafts.
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate that. Terry Wilkes says, I appreciate you, Ed, and the guys involved. Well, we appreciate you. You know, like I said, we want to bring the guys that are with the dirt on their fingernails that are working at midnight in their shop trying to make a living for themselves and to have a product. You know, when you see Terry's stuff, and I got your video, I'm working on it now. I mean, it's a work of art for one. It's got his heart and soul in it. I'm not saying Jessel doesn't have heart and soul in it, but not like when you see someone handcrafting something like that. I was pretty impressed, Terry. So thank you so much.
Terry is a machine. He's a one-man band for the most
I know
part. And every time I talk to him, it don't matter if it's 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night,
Yep.
he's working.
Yeah. There's Likens Motorsport. What's going on, Brent? It's good to see you here. He's got a YouTube channel. You know, he's a Ford guy. Always built Cleveland's and FEs, man. You know, no one built, you know, since Barry Robotnik stopped building engines, I don't really know who else is an FE guru other than Brent Likens. I mean, that guy can build FEs, and he has a YouTube channel, guys, so you should check it out. I enjoy, in fact, I watch your channel too, Brent, to look at things and see how to do certain things, because I'm trying to do my own engine building, so to speak, to increase my productivity and my expertise, you know, because I can build an engine, but some of the things I need to review, I watch you. So thank you, Brett. I appreciate that. So this is a good question. Maybe Brent will comment, but I'll give you my 2 cents. What's the best Cleveland head produced today? You know, the thing about that question is it's kind of a dual-edged sword, because you can't answer that question, what's the best produced head today? Do you mean the most expensive, the one that's going to make the most horsepower, the one that's most affordable? That's a tough question. If you want to know the most power, you're probably looking at something like the Assassin. Even though it's not a Cleveland head, it can go on a Cleveland block. But with that said, you got to look at these high-end guys like the Higgins. I mean, Higgins is up there in Australia, and they ain't no joke. They can make 1,000 horsepower without any issue, depending on the combination in cubic inch. You know, and then you can come down the ladder, and you got C.H.E. I think that's one of the best all-around heads you're going to find. You know, you got Trick Flow. For an affordable head, you're probably going to be fine with a Trick Flow. Edelbrock, I haven't heard a lot good about them as far as, you know, they're not much better than a stock head, but I don't know that. I never ran them. But
they're not bad. The TFS is really a really good head for the money.
okay.
You know, and Promax has a head that's decent. I mean, there's a lot of aftermarket castings that are decent.
And like I said, and I say it again and again, and Darren says the same thing. You don't always look at what's the best for this or that. You build what you want to build for your combo. Start with a combo and a goal. That's how I always build something. I got a goal, and this is what I want to achieve, and then build accordingly. You don't just say, I'm going to build this and I want the best of that, because you might not need to spend the money for that. Put it into something else that may benefit, you know. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? I like that. Brent Likens' channel rocks. It does rock, you know. Sometimes people say some nasty comments on, people say nasty comments on everybody's channel. You know, people that aren't happy. If you're not happy and you don't get your question answered, then they get mad. And, you know, I've learned to, I don't waste my time on that. I'm here to bring you all I can and teach you something. Always see and learn something new at DragBoss Garage. That's one of my mantras. And here's another one. We're going 7 days a week trying to catch up for taking off for PRI. Yeah, no doubt about that. Thank you, Shelton, for putting the time in, because we're going to need these parts pretty soon. You too, Terry. Thank you, Tim. I was at work until 7 p.m. making titanium retainers. Shelton was there working most of the day too. There you go. So let's drop the Cleveland question again. Got 50 people here. We're almost 2 hours. You know me, I can keep talking. C.H.I. or TFS Trick Flow Specialties is the best bang for the buck. We have C.H.I. 3V heads doing almost 400. Yeah, they have the heads that are doing 400 are like the Kazi C.H.I. I forgot what they're called, but those heads are pretty serious.
And we on the Cleveland we have now, it's 409 cubic inches.
Yeah.
It's 10.2 compression. C.H.I. three V's, 225.
Yep.
Their intake manifold. It's got a carburetor coming from AED, but I mean it's a pretty basic build. I mean, low compression, and I think the cam's 256, 266, 850
Yep.
gross lift. I mean, it made 720 at 7,200, and would stop and put 90, fill it up with 93 BP. You know, I mean, Cleveland's easy to make power with. Easy.
No doubt. Here's what Brent says. I like this one. Hey, he's honest, right? Edelbrock Cleveland heads stink. There's your answer. So, I mean, I think they're probably good for the guy that's going to make 500 horsepower. He just wants aluminum heads and doesn't want to have a lot of issues. But I'm not the guy to really, don't take me for my word because I don't use them. Brent says they stink. They must stink. So, I mean, he'll comment on his channel or my channel here or whatever about why he thinks they stink. Let me see what this says. Mike says, nasty. This is your nasty comment for tonight. There you go. Okay. I like that. But a couple other guys I dealt with too was Jim Petrakis at Yellow Terra. Now, just because I talk about shaft rockers, one, I haven't seen them yet. Two, you know, this engine's been running Yellow Terra for 20-something years, and I've never replaced I think I did replace a couple of the rockers once, and then I sold the set to someone else. But I'm going to get a set. Jim wants to send me a set to put on that Brent Likens 354 Cleveland. Get rid of those guide plates and get rid of the stud girdle, because Brent recommended that if I'm going to dyno it again at $8,000. So I'm going to they want me to do an installation video on Yellow Terra. So I'm going to get a set and put them on them, and I'm probably going to replace these on the Cleveland. And just because I'd like to dyno it with that, and if you guys have shaft and we work with that, great. But I'm kind of sticking to the same plan I have. Yellow Terra wants to sponsor me with that, and I want to do a good job for them because they've done a good job for me for 20 years. So I'm not afraid to try different parts and try them. So got to mention Yellow Terra because they were there for a long time.
They used to be the go-to for Cleveland stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And may still be. I've had a set of them.
Let's see what Dean has to say. I don't know Dean's background. He seems to know a little about everything, or he does a lot of quick searches. But I always enjoy his comments. He always comments on my videos. So thanks, Dean. Let's see what you said. I'm just here to see if factory Cleveland boss can match a Y or decoded 352, 360 hypo performance. Hell yeah, they can match it. I'm not sure what that means, but I think they can. There you go. And Likens, T&D makes a sweet Cleveland. Yes, and I'll tell you, I have a set of their steel rockers. I ended up buying 10 sets at once. It's like $12,000. So I bought 10 sets. I got a set. A couple guys here in the States got a set, but I sent the rest to Australia. You know, and that's what we were talking about, doing some Australia parts deals. So I have a set that's at BS, and that's what that Cleveland's going to have, our T&D steel rockers. So I already got those waiting. So we'll see, you know, what Terry Wilkins can make, because I think I would love to put him on this 409. I'll tell you this, when it comes to shaft rocker systems, my buddy Tom Magyar works for Ford Performance. He's been there for 20-something years or longer. Now, he knows a lot of the guys in Ford that are in the top racing thing for 20-plus years. One of the engineers has a super stock car with a Cleveland in it. And he said he went to a shaft rocker arm system on the Cleveland, factory iron heads, and picked up 60 to 70 horsepower by switching from the regular standard Cleveland setup with stud girdle and the guide plates. Switch to shaft rocker, 60 to 70 horsepower. So take it for what it's worth. Yep, no doubt about that. We agreed with that. 1960 Special Order FE Devil's Advocate question us. Oh, yeah, okay. So him and Brent got a talk going on. So talk away. Was Was it just the 540 CFM vacuum secondary and low riser alloy castings that limit this thing? Okay. Not even getting into that. Let's see what he says. It took me a solid roller with a tunnel ram and a pair of 660 center squirters, turning 7,500 to make 530 horse. 351 Cleveland with that. Pretty easy without a lot. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And that will bring up something, because I kind of want to mention these guys because I got a little short I'm going to put up. But a company in New York, Long Island area, their name is Allstate Carburetor. Now, you guys may have heard of them. I don't know much about them. I've seen them around. I've actually bought a couple parts from them for Barry Grant stuff that I used to run. So I saw them at PRI, and we were talking about carburetors, and I did a reel on it, which I'm going to put up. I got so many of them, I don't want to overpopulate Facebook or YouTube with this stuff. But they do a lot of carburetor restorations. And I'll tell you, I saw a set of 660 center squirters, man, that were like to die for. These Mopar 6-pack carburetors, you know, die for. I mean, they're the dichromate. It's beautiful work. You know, they do a lot of the factory rebuild type carburetors, but they also have a lot of Barry Grant stuff, and they want all my Barry Grant, so I'm going to give them a package deal and get rid of it because I've switched to Magna Fuel. But I'm going to bring them on, and you guys know I do carb stuff for APD, but there's a difference, and that's what Ed was saying with the guys with rocker arms or torque converters. Allstate Carburetor is not going to take over APD's population of carburetors. APD is a race carburetor. It's custom built. It's made. It's high tech. Not that Allstate doesn't do that kind of stuff, but they're building more reproduction stuff. They're building more stuff for the guy that wants to just bolt it on his, 70 LS6 on his 70 Chevelle, the same carb that he had, not switch over, that Holly carb. So there's a lot of continuity between the people I want to bring on, but then there's a lot of specificity, like Ed said, and anything to keep our business and our industry going is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, the more manufacturers that you can get on your show, there's no negative to it. Just like you use APD carburetors. Well, one of my sponsors is AED Performance, which
Right.
They do carburetors.
Sure.
And most of the people that help me with my racing program, it's all based off of personal relationships.
Right.
Yep. And it's almost the same way with engine building. People pick who they are comfortable with based on a relationship.
And what's the other thing? Relationship and word of mouth. Word of mouth is big, and that's why I mentioned, like, people say bad things about people and their channel, whatever. I rarely get that, but if they do, I don't really care. I say what I say. I feel how I feel, and that's how it is. And you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. And I've always lived by that. And
no, it used to drive me crazy because, I would get hate mail, so to speak, for making something that I knew nothing about.
Okay.
And it used to drive me crazy. It used to actually bother me. Well, now I think about it, well, I'm making it, and what are you doing? You're sitting, you got a Dremel tool on your back porch porting a set of cylinder heads. So, I mean, people are going to hate you when you're trying to do stuff. It's just a given.
And I'll tell you, this brings up a perfect example. Terry Grover, he ports in his backyard. I've seen him port on a picnic table, trash over can, trash can, whatever. Doesn't matter. He just does what he has and works with what he has. He said, I ported a pair of $400 heads from Amazon for a guy, and the car went 9s at 130 in the quarter. He had $1,000 in them, paying me and upgrade the springs in them. There you go.
That's grassroots.
It is.
And it went 9s. That's
right.
Flying.
Now,
I remember the first time I ever made a pass in a bracket car. It was I went 702 at 97 mile an hour. 2 hours before that, I was in an 84 Ford Escort 4-speed running quarter mile, and it ran like 19 something. It was pathetic. But big adjustment.
No doubt. Bad says Edelbrock haters are clueless. I think they're talking more about the Cleveland head, not the Glidden Victor. Those are pretty serious heads. You know, SC1, giant killers. You should see the SC2 that BS has. You know, another serious cylinder head, no doubt.
It is a serious cylinder.
No doubt about it at all.
And C.I.D. has great products.
Let's see what he was talking about here. Adam says, Terry Grover, they were blueprint heads on a 306. I believe it had a Trick Flow Special 3 cam and solid rollers on it. 306, it's pretty nasty to run 9s at 130. I go by the mile an hour, and that's pretty nasty. Now let's hear this little song from this New Zealander. Barry Grant can save your Clevo and get you back in the Grove. Oh, all right. It's out of sight. Yep. Okay. Let's see what he says now. Bad. I'm talking about Performer RPM heads. They are less than stellar. Right. That's just what we were talking about. Most of the comments on YouTube come from guys who wish they were doing it. Lots of blown up egos with nothing to back it up. Yeah. You know, like I said, I very rarely get negative comments. And when I do, I either give it back to them or I don't waste my time on it because it's rare for me. And I don't want to waste time. I want to bring good stuff for you guys to enjoy. And if you don't like it, just switch off. You know, guys comment. I put a video up me driving in my car on Facebook. It's got like 946,000 views. Now I drive my Cougar on the street with 2 feet. I don't know. I always drove it as a race car with 2 feet, probably because it did want to stall at one time when I was building it. I don't know. Or I like to flip the throttle all the time and I don't want to go too fast, but hit the brake and slow it down. I don't know. Big deal. But people will comment on that. Instead of it, yeah, it sounds good, or yeah, I like to see the gauges, or I like to hear it. They comment about that. And it's so funny to hear people get mad about it. They really get pissed because I do that. And it's like, sometimes I waste my time answering it, but most of the time, let it go. The main thing is they're watching it. It gets you a view and enjoy it, and don't watch it again. I don't really care.
Laugh all the way to the bank.
That's it.
That's what I say.
Yep. Now, Tim Hilliard says, hey, the best investment is a shaft rocker system. I cringe when I see aftermarket blocks and rocker studs. Okay. You know, I always say, buy the best you can afford. So you think about that. Now, Tim Hilliard, he has Optimum Performance. Now, his business has a lot of stuff for these, you know, late model type Mustangs, like you see in his picture there. Wheel studs, wheel nut, all kinds of stuff. You should get on there if you have a Mustang and see what he has to offer. You know, whether they do cam design, I don't know. I haven't read that on his website, and he'll comment. But thanks for being here, Tim. I appreciate being here. He's also a member of DragBoss Garage and Darren Morgan Induction. And one of the things that, like I talk about here, is, you know, my plug-in membership. Yeah, but I don't care if you join it or not. That's up to you. It depends on what you want out of this type of channel. And with that said, I'm going to say another plug for me. And I have another YouTube channel called The Grumpy PA. I had it for years, actually, 3 years, I think. When I was working in the ER, and what happened was I lost my job at that time because another company came in and overwrote the contract, so they fired all the PAs. You either could go back and work for them and work all around wherever they want you to, or take a job in the urgent care, and I chose the urgent care. And I worked there for like 3 years in the urgent care, which was... So it was easy. I didn't really have to work that hard. I can see a patient in 5 minutes and be done with it. I can work on YouTube and stuff. So I started a PA channel because I wasn't sure where I was going to work. Well, I'm bringing it back. So some of you guys on here, you might want to think about subscribing to that, and I'd appreciate that because I'm going to start talking about being a PA. You may have kids that want to be a PA. You may want to know the difference between a PA and a nurse practitioner, that kind of stuff. And you may want to learn about medicine. And I'm going to start teaching people about medicine with x-rays and wounds and how to close them, you know, and all that stuff. I've done some on Facebook, and it's just, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you know. And the more you know about your body and what makes it work is the same difference as you know about your car and your camshaft and your engine to make it faster. You can never know too much. So think about it. I'll put a link on the description for this, for that pH handle. It's called the Grumpy PA. So think about it. This guy, Victor, says, how much timing do you use on a Cleveland? Well, it depends. You know, with iron heads that are not the most efficient, you're going to use anywhere from 36 to 40, I'll say. I've seen people get the best results for 40. You know, I try not to go that high. I've heard guys going 45. Something's not right there. But I try to stick around the 38 to 40 range, 38 more like it. With this Cleveland, with the A3 heads, 32 is what I stick it at. Made the most power. Darren did the heads over. The more efficient the combustion chamber is, the more efficient the head is, the less timing you need. So keep that in mind and think about what you got.
And the C.H.E. Heads that we have, 32 degrees.
Yep, I've heard 28 to 32. Just depends on what your combination is. So, Likens, Brent, see ya. Hang out with your family. Y'all be good. Yep. And think about this, Brent. We'll do another live chat because I always like to talk to Brent. At one time, we were going to do our Cleveland combinations and kind of discuss them. So I think that'd be a good one. Guys, I always love to hear about that kind of stuff. So we'll hook up with another live chat. Thanks, Brent. And he says this. Closed chamber will always want less lead. Okay. So there you go. Compared to open chamber head, you know, it's really your combination. You really got to put it in there, test drive it, you know, and check the spark plugs and see if you got detonation or if you can hear the engine and hear if you got some detonation on that. That's how you're going to know. And then back it off a little. Okay, it'll be hard, but I'll do it. Okay, that's something else. I don't know anyone that switched to shafts that wanted to go back to studs. Okay. I've never ran them, and I believe that. I think it's a very stable. I mean, it just think about it. Your issue is, right, was all the years of racing was what? It wasn't about the pistons. It wasn't about the crank or the connecting rods or the cylinder heads. It was about the valve train. Until you have valve train stability, you're at a loss of power, of producing power or optimal power. Like Darren says, I mean, up until like 2003, they didn't have the valve train to sustain what they had. So you think about that. What are you getting tired, Ed?
No, my wife's walking through the kitchen.
2 hours and 12 minutes we've been flapping our jaws.
She winks at me, and if I don't wink back, I get in trouble. That 4'10" girl bite my ankles.
There it is. While we're talking about timing, and then we'll see about, let's see. Adam says, we had a car at the track that he ran 40 degrees of timing in a 302. The car ran at 12. So he put it on the dyno, made more power, lowering the time in a 34, and the car went slower. Well, you got to remember, the dyno is a lot different than the track. And here's what I'll tell you. This is a thing that Darren, I made a short on it, so you'll be seeing it soon. But Darren talked to me, and we did a live, and we were talking about a set of cylinder heads. And I think he was talking about the profiler ones he did for a big block Chevy. He said that the funny thing about those cylinder heads is what he found out was guys were wondering why they're 60 horsepower down but have the same flow numbers and same reduction in speed at the track. And that brings in the same point like you mentioned, Ed. It's not about flow numbers. We don't give a shit about flow numbers. Those are just numbers. Those show you potential horsepower. Okay, it could make this much horsepower. Ain't gonna though, probably, but it could. And these heads were down 60 horsepower, yet they flowed the same. That just tells you that it was different in regards to the port shape, combustion chamber, and short turn. So we'll leave it at that. We could beat on that all day long. What does he say? Oh, Mike Cranston. Hey, Tim, Monday, 3 p.m. here in New Zealand. Looking forward to DGV with you in a chat in a few days. Negative comments are not worth wasting energy on. There are plenty of us. Yes, there's no doubt about that. And we don't care about that. But like I said, I rarely get negative. I mean, out of 2,000 comments, I might get one, if that. People, you know, maybe I'm doing something right. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But all I can tell you is I I've been doing the same way for the years that I've been doing this, and that's how it is. I tell you like it is. If you don't like it, tell me about it, and I'll either comment about it or I'm not going to waste my time. Oh, why are you wasting your time on that? If you get a Chevy, it's faster. Okay, good. I'm not. You waste your time, and I'll waste my time the way I see fit. That's all. I don't need to argue about it or waste time. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. And you see that little freaking boat there? Oh, those things have like 1,500 horsepower, 2,000 horsepower in those things. It's like 14 foot. Imagine that in a boat. Yeah. And Ed, you can leave anytime you want. I mean, don't feel obligated to me. I can talk. I have a whole list of stuff to talk about. We're probably going to end this anyways in the next 20 minutes.
I'm
don't
fine.
feel obligated to talk and be here. I enjoy your company, but I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I'm having a blast.
And then you pull the parachute and you're gone. Eric's on our membership. He has a lot of good things to say. One of these days, I'm going to talk Tim into bolting a quadrat on the Cleveland. Okay. Remember, the 71 Boss 51 was a quadrat, I think, style carburetor. I'm not saying that it was a quad. It may be. I can't remember if it was a motor. But it was a motorcraft, I think. Yeah, it was a motorcraft. But it was a quadrat. And when I was a kid, the quadrat was the carb to have in 75, man. Because when my buddy had a 75 Cutlass Salon, Henry Bush, if you watch this, I'll never forget it. Man, when he kicked those secondaries in, woo, as a kid, man, at 16 years old, that was like the bomb, man. And I had a Cleveland with a 4-barrel. That thing was fast, So we won't go further any wasting about old times. But hey, I ain't afraid to try it because those quadrajets, and we're going to have a guy coming on pretty soon who's a Pontiac specialist, we're going to say. Rick Catterjohn. So he designs Pontiac heads. He races Pontiac heads. And quadrajets can make 1,000 horsepower. Close to it, 900 horsepower. And we'll leave it at that. And maybe he'll tell us about them or even bring a carb in and we can look at it. So let's see what our friends here say. I don't want to forget anybody. Oh, wow. Terry Wilkes, thank you. Thank you for joining. We appreciate that. And that's the membership type stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's $14.99 a month, which is 30 cents a day. You don't like it? Drop off, But you can get on there, watch all the videos you want, learn everything, and then leave if you don't want to stay. But there's a whole separate section of videos, over 40 videos I think I have in there that Darren and I have done that only the members can see. Off topic, 351 Windsor and a Stang, I can tell. But is anyone going to run Darren Ford Pro Stock head and Pro Stock neck? I doubt it. You know what I mean? That engine's run now in Clit Neff's dragster, which is the thing is killing index. I don't remember the numbers now, but right now that is not going to run in Pro Stock with Pro Camaro going on. There is no way. One, NHRA wants it, and two, it has to be. They only made, Cunningham, Jim Cunningham only made X amount of these products, cylinder heads and blocks. And I think Neff finally bought them all up, and there's only like 6 to 8 sets of the heads and blocks, I think. I don't know if Darren's on here, he may comment, but they're not going to. It would be nice if someone said, let's put these in production and then let's see how they compete against Pro Camaro, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But there you go. It's my take on it.
It could.
Go ahead.
It could. Somebody's going to have to bring a lot of money. A lot of money. The platform is capable.
I wonder if that guy from IHRA could afford it.
Oh, yeah, he could afford it.
Probably in one day, I bet.
I would love to see a real Ford back in Pro Stock, just like I would love to see more Mopars competing. The class needs, all classes need diversity, different manufacturers.
Here's what I'll tell you. Bring back the regular Pro Stock like it used to be with small block power back in the day with conventional stuff. No LS, no nothing, but 350 Chevy, conventional stuff. and have 2 classes, big block and just conventional. No electronics, just like it used to be. You know, they had that Factory X, which was supposed to be the new pro stock, whatever. That's not new pro stock to me. I'm talking old stuff with the old cars. You know, now you're going to see some fun. So that's how I feel. Flow numbers and dyno numbers are tools, correct, to give you an idea of where you are and your potential for horsepower. The ET and mile an hour tell it all. If I make 2 horsepower and get the ET, I could care less about the horsepower number. That's it. Bingo. I like that. Thank you. Here it is. Right. I play in paddock puddle. Jeff's jet sprints are amazing. That's what Mike Cranston runs, are jet sprints. Those are those boats, 14-foot long, about 2,000 horsepower, an insanity ticket.
That,
right there.
that what you just described scared the crap out of me. I'd never.
Yeah.
I like roll bars.
Mm-hmm. And Heliarc, those intake port roofs to raise a port. He might be talking about me. And because in order, if you really want those A3 heads to flow, you weld all that up on top of the rocker arm rail itself. I mean, that's what they do with Cleveland heads, right? And raise it up. I mean, that's the most horsepower you're going to get. Raising that, you want that line of sight straight, but I'm not messing around with all that. These heads, you know, are just what they are. That's what I kind of want to run. Let's see what Terry says. Tim, let folks know not to be scared of the shaft rocker setup. When we do a video on the sweep gauge, it will help folks be more comfortable with the shaft rocker setup. And that's going to be up either, I got the video all done. We made a little reel and a short. I'm going to put it up. But with that little gauge, it's key to measuring your rocker arm aspect for sweep. Because, you know, back in, like when I did this with Yellow Terra, I had to put shims under there, mock it up, put the checking springs, roll it over, pull off the rocker arm setup, measure the width of the sweep on the rock. You know what I'm talking about on the valve stack. You get it. You know, you guys know that what I'm saying. I did that a few times, and then I put different length push rods, and that's kind of how I felt I had the best profile in geometry. And then I used the laser with a right angle and made it a right angle from the fulcrum. And I did that. You saw, I made a video on that. Some guys don't agree with that, but hey, I did it my way. And if they don't like it, don't watch it. So yeah, we'll put that up, Terry. Thank you. New Zealand, there it is. Kiwi power, I guess. Thank you, Ed, for being on DragBoss with Tim. We enjoyed it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Hey, BCB, glad you're here. Yep, you made it towards the tail end of 2 hours and 22 minutes of talking. So glad you're here. I see you do post on the channel a lot. I try to answer them and make sense of things. So I appreciate that. Let's see. Don Dotter, he's a Chevy man. Not holding that against you, Don. If anyone is looking for a quadrojet, I have close to 100 of them. Oh, there's your source. So I would love to try that. You know, when I take this 409 to the dyno, what we're going to do is we're going to test. I doubt I'm going to do any big intake testing, but I'm going to test carburetors. We're testing the twin blade from APD. We're going to test a Dominator on it. We're going to test my Pro Systems on it. Hey, if we can build a quadrojet that's good enough, I'll test that too. So there you go, Don. But I don't know anything about a quadrojet. May have to talk to whoever does it that's the pro on that one. Greg says, hey, bring Australian Pro Stock to IHRA would be fantastic. Right. 400 cubic inch limit. There you go. Right. A tunnel ram, 2 carbs. Yeah. Old school stuff. And not to plug the membership again, but Darren's going over through all the essentials of Australian Pro Stock. We're on the 2nd series of videos for that to show you what they need to make the power those things are making, because they're pretty serious. Terry, thanks for another comment. They work on stud mount rockers too. Well, he said he was going to send me one, so we'll get one here. Hey, if I don't have those heads sent out to Darren, maybe I'll mock one back up and we'll put it down there and see if I can figure it out. That'd be cool. Yep, he did a pneumatic. Yep. We remember hearing that, but it's not there anymore. Sorry, WJ. Pneumatic valve train. I heard him talking about. He's told me that before. I I was making a set of aluminum hubs in the shop. Just got done. Hubs for what? BCB. There's no more comments, so I'm going to kind of keep talking for a little bit and finish off these cards, and then who knows where we're going to be. But another company that I met that was pretty cool was a company called Jones Engineering Solutions. Now, their card has a big turbo on it, and they do some turbo stuff, but they're the kind of company that says, hey, I have this idea. I want to make this bracket. Can I put it up on paper and send it to you? Can I 3D print this and have you make it out? Yeah, they manufacture a lot of custom stuff, pulleys, whatever you want. They can make that kind of stuff. Now, I told him, I said, I'd like to get you on for a live chat because a lot of these guys, including myself, don't have that capability. I don't have Ed's capability to do, not Pipe Max, but CAD Works, CAD Softworks, or whatever you use. I don't have that program, so I don't know how to use it anyways. But sometimes I would like to have my own bracket for a crank trigger for a Cleveland. Now I made one out of cardboard and have it all set up, and it will work with a stock timing pointer. But John from APD sent me one from Innovators West, so I just used that, But I have one. Maybe I'll send it to them, and they can make me one, and I can see, and instead of being $300, it'd be $50. I don't know.
Just to let you know, both of those companies that you just mentioned, Innovators West and Jones Racing Products.
Yeah.
You're a distributor for them now.
Now, let me clarify that. Jones Racing Products are the guys that make the pulleys. They make a lot of the racing pulleys and a lot of the alternators and a lot of racing stuff. This is Jones Engineering Solutions. So it's a different company, because I thought that too. And then they say, nope, you're confused. Then they showed me the card.
Okay.
So it's Jones Racing Products. Great line of everything you want as far as, that's why I used to set up my vacuum pump on my engine, was Jones Racing Products. They came up with the pulley, 5-inch pulley. They came up with the spacers. They came up with a bunch of stuff. So that's who they make. Jones Engineering Solutions are the guys that can, we'll bring them both on. In fact, I'll write that down right now before I forget. Because I'd like to have Jones Racing Products on, and since I can distribute them, let's see what they have to offer us. So, oh yeah, BCB says pulling truck to put a Rockwell. I think that's a military type thing in an S10, but use regular 8-bolt wheels. Like, that's the only thing I know is a Rockwell housing. You know what I mean? Like a military type housing. And not sure what you're saying here. If you need an old iron block, I don't know what kind of iron block. Ed Smith has a room full of blocks and heads and another full of Barry T's on his channel. I saw Barry T's stuff, so I know who he is. But I don't know what that means. I don't even know who's Ed Smith. Oh, I know who Ed Smith is. I see he's an older guy that they do interviews with him on stuff. I'm not really, he's an old racing dude from back in the day. But let's see who I was talking about. Now, one of the guys that I had talked to, and we had talked before about this, is Revan Evan. You may know Revan Evan. Now, he worked for the magazines back in the day. He was back involved with, NMRA, pretty heavy. That's how I remember him. But him and I want to do a live chat. His channel has grown tremendously. I'd like to get his history. Part of the thing about DragBoss Garage is getting the history of the guys that made it. It's not just Tim, and Ed's assassin cylinder head. It's about the guys that produce this stuff. It's like the video I did with C.H.E. yesterday. It's about Claude Hooligan. That guy, 84 years old. We built that company from the ground up. We want to record the history of these guys and anybody involved with this so that we know about it. So we have a repository of videos that can say, hey, where did this guy come from? Or how did this get started? That's what I want to do, is have that as a record. So definitely want to have him on. He may even have some tips on that kind of thing. Another guy that I talked to, which was pretty cool, was John Jameson. Now, John Jameson works for Jameson Equipment. He used to be partners with a guy named Harold Bettis. Now, Harold Bettis, back in the day, those two worked for Superflow, and that's where the Superflow flow bench came from back in the old days. The Superflow 100, the 600, and all that. And actually, Joel DeBoy, who I doubt's on here now, who works with Pat Musi doing all his cylinder head work, his mentor was Harold Bettis. So John sells flow benches, and we had talked about doing some meetings. Whether he comes here, I think he's in Iowa, or I meet him in Iowa, or I travel to. He invited me to go to something university. He's the guy with the bald head on Facebook. What's that guy's name, Ed? EFI University.
Schrader, Ben Schrader.
He invited me out there in February to go to his shop in Arizona in February. I don't know if I want to take Zeus on a plane. I never took him on a plane, but hey, who knows? But he invited me to go there, and then he's got another shop that might be a midway point. He wanted me to bring some Cleveland heads and work them on his bench, show me a little bit how to use his bench and get the basics on how to use a flow bench for the basics for these guys. And maybe on a seminar. You know, one of the things that Darren and I have been talking about, and we do a lot of talking, there's no doubt. You know, it's hard for us to put everything into fruition with his schedule and what he's got going and what I got going on. So we do a lot of talking, but you know what? The only way things get done is to talk about it. Then you put it on a list, and then you start chipping away at the list. You chip away, you chip away. So we're going to do a program. I'm going to start it on School, SKOOL. Now, School is another platform like YouTube, but I'm going to other platforms. I'm going to have Instagram coming on. We're going to have TikTok. I'm going to have all these different platforms that I'm going to start managing, and we're going to start putting our material on different venues, because there's how many videos are on Facebook a day? Do anyone have an idea? Guess, and I'll come back to that. So we're going to start doing different venues, and we're going to do a virtual porting school. And what I'd like to do, and I had mentioned to a couple guys that already said they would sign on and help do things, but they didn't have a valve machine, and they didn't have a flow bench. Not that it has to be that. But I was even thinking about talking to Brett Likens about coming there and doing a video, Brett. So if you watch this, or you are watching, me and Darren meeting at your shop and doing some initial videos, because what we'd like to do is come to different people's shops, set up and do some porting work and make a video on something at your shop. A lot of guys would probably find that very interesting to have Darren come, you know, whether they have cylinder heads that he could look at, or we could practice on, or we could make a video on, something like that. Because really what I foresee, and you're not going to see it anywhere else, and I don't care if I spoil it, who cares? I'm doing it, man, is I'm taking the DBG on the road, you know, and we're going to do it. Now, Darren's not going to do this full time. So don't say that Darren's quitting BS and going to do this full time. This is stuff we do on the weekends. You know, this is our retirement plan. We're building this channel for retirement. He's not quitting BS. So don't think that. But I'd love to do that and say, you know, Ed says, hey, I got, you know, a place in, I don't know, there's a couple places already in Tennessee I want to go to. And that's why I'd like to visit Nichols and do a tour of their place and visit, you know, all these, I want to bring these guys to you on DragBoss Garage, not always just doing this talking back and forth. And I think guys would really get a kick out of that. And you know, I'd love to go into your house and your garage and do a live chat with you and show me your stuff that you have, that you work on, and show me your race car and talk about your stuff on my channel. Have a whole section on that.
Yeah.
You know?
I would like for you and Darren to come to one of the events this year.
Like what kind of event? What are you talking event?
Well, we're running Pro 632 and PVRA. Yeah.
Yep. We'll see about that. We'll get the schedule down and we'll arrange it however it's going to work out, since now I'm a sponsor, right?
Yeah. Well, whichever event you come to, your accommodations are covered.
Hey, let's go to Hawaii.
If they have an event there, I would probably take some extra time off. We got 2 races in Virginia, 2 races in North Carolina, 1 race in Bristol. And
Okay.
I think the other one is Darlington. If you and Darren, and you can bring anybody with you. If you all come to the Bristol race, we're catering in Ridgewood Barbecue, and it's been around almost 80 years. It's amazing.
Now, see, that would be a great trip. Now, what month is that?
August.
Okay. See, that's something to plan on. Bring my kids, and
Yeah.
my dog, and we'd come and get a room, and then we'd race and eat, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So let's plan on that. Let's keep that in the mind. I'm talking about going to, like, this winter. I'm talking February, March, head out to do these winter journeys to the places I'm talking about.
February, I'm going to do I'm going to go to the Ford Winter Tech Seminar.
Okay.
I will shoot some video for you there.
Sure. We'd love to have it. Yep. So BCB says, yeah, it's a semi-truck axle, like a 14-inch ring gear for a truck puller. Okay. Got it. And you know what, Adam Grover, you were right. If it wasn't for the older racers, we wouldn't be where we are today. Some people down them, but they deserve the utmost respect. Just don't tell them you can bleed compression with camshaft profile. Okay, we won't tell them that. And then they're talking about that Ed Smith. So I see his videos on YouTube and stuff. Now, according to CD, I think he's in Australia. So Barry T's in Arizona too. So Ed's there. Be nice to go out to Arizona. I've been out there once. I rented a Harley and took off on a Harley and rode to Tombstone with my buddy on a Harley. It's a great time, man. What's the highest RPM you've heard of out of a Cleveland? Probably about 10 grand is the highest I've ever heard. Back in the pro stock days, Bob Glidden was side clutching at 9 grand to 10 grand in that range. But there again, what do you got? Valve train instability. So you got a lot of issues. And back then, they didn't have the valve train they had now. However, Bob figured it out, or however he did it. When I saw the Boss 429s that had roller bearing guide plates that Bob devised, I put them on a post on my channel. It was pretty amazing to see stuff like that. And excuse me, we'll see what when Larry comes on, Larry Sullivan, we'll see what he has to say, because he's seen a lot of Bob's Cleveland stuff. He said he kind of snooped around at one time and looked through up in the attic where Bob had all the Cleveland stuff. So he's got a lot to talk about. Terry Wilkes says, retirement, LOL. Anyone that loves what they're doing and can make a couple of dollars is already retired. That's it. That's it. And I get that. When I say that, the thing that amazes me, and I talk about him a lot, because he to me is a mentor. To me, is somebody I look up to, is Warren Johnson. In fact, I'll call his ass up tomorrow. I'll try to wake him up. But usually he's up at work already by 6:30. And but that guy's still working at 80-something years old, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes he goes in late he goes to church, I think, sometimes on Sunday, or he'll leave early on a Saturday at 4 o'clock or something, or 3 o'clock. But that guy's still working. And you know what? I asked him, why do you still work, Warren? You don't have to, do you? He says, hell no, I got to work. I said, then why are you doing it? What else am I going to do? I said, you don't even have to say anymore. That's what he loves, his passion. He loves racing. He hates NHRA, I'll tell you that, because of that same thing we had talked about in the past. And you can hear some of his interviews, how he gets pissed about it and talks about how they F the track up, because they make it slippery with the nitro and all that kind of stuff, and they don't clean the track. But anyways, so yeah, it's not retirement. And that's what I want to do. I want to grow old doing this. I want to grow old in my garage, DragBoss Garage, building Clevelands and whatever engines I can build, and racing. Guys are racing at 78 years old and 80 years old. That's all I want to do. I don't know if I'll make it to 80, but I'll sure try. And so I appreciate that, Terry. Eric says, Tim Alston, what do you think of two-barrel closed chamber Aussie heads? I think they're great heads. I'd love to have a set and build some, and I could probably buy them and get them. But, it gets to the point where a man can only build so many things. And I don't want to waste money on stuff that I don't have the money to waste. So, but I would do that if someone contributed some. I'd start working on them. And now that I want to learn to do cylinder heads and I have a place to do it, and even have a dyno there if I want to use that, I would like to build an engine with that. So thanks. I think they work well. They are, do you know what they are, Ed?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. If you guys don't, they're basically a 2-barrel Cleveland size port with a 4-barrel quench type chamber. So they kind of got the best of both worlds. So that's where we're at. Let me go through here and make sure we got nobody else I forgot. I talked about Billy Godbold. Hopefully he'll come through and get on here with us. And I'd love to just hear him just for an hour would be perfect, because that guy, his knowledge base is like, I mean, you know who I'm talking about, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
And when someone is booked 42 weeks in advance, and that was in December, he's probably now 48 weeks, and he has to have time off. So BCB says lots of these gas truck pullers are turning big blocks 10.2 and 10.5. Most have to put springs in after every pass or risk dropping a valve in the next. Yeah, cubic dollars up in smoke. That's amazing. You know? Wow. Now, could they do something to get better longevity out of stuff? I bet you they could. There's probably something they could do, but I don't know. You know, they're probably conventional heads. You know, they're all kind of limited by certain rocker arm geometry and whatever they can use for push. I don't know. I don't know that much about it. What? I know you're thinking.
They stay at that RPM for a long time.
18 seconds or longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
We have a truck puller, 485 cubic inch, and it's 95 to 9,800 every single pull, and it does eat valve springs.
Wow.
And I think he's got 460 on the seat.
Wow.
Which is insane to me.
Oh, yeah. Think about on the nose what you got, you know? Jesus. 1,500?
Couldn't tell you.
So, Terry, I don't know if you're still on here, because I don't know. I just see you from 9:34. Well, it's 9:42. But comment on that about the rocker arm. That guy, the super stock Ford guy with the Cleveland, said he picked up 60 to 70 horsepower with a shaft setup. Tell me what you think about that. And then tell me what you think about the RPM range. If I can go through the traps at 8,300, although that's too much for me at this point, what's the RPM potential I could have with a shaft system on a Cleveland? Comment on that. If you do while you're here, great. We're going to kind of tune things up or wind things down. I mean, we're at 2 hours and 42 minutes, Ed. You know?
Well, I know.
And I'm not even tired. You know what it is I don't tell my daughters I've been drinking this. I've been cutting way down. I was drinking a lot. I'm down to one. Well, I've had 2 cans today. This Red Bull, sugar-free Red Bull. I drink this stuff, and but it's not good for you. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for anything. But it's the only bad thing I do. So I'm trying to.
I drink Monster Javas, the coffee monsters. I drink those in the morning.
Okay. While you're waiting for the train.
Yeah, while I'm waiting for the train.
Well, give me some damn insight on that. We never even talked about the train. So let me give some guys some input. We might as well go to 3 hours, 15 minutes if we can do
right.
It. So Ed's on Facebook. That's how I know him. You guys are on there probably too. And every day or every other day or whatever, how many times a week it is, I'll see this post from and I'll say daily train update. Now, when I first saw it, I'm like, what the heck is this? And I see him sitting there and then I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Who would do this? And then I started reading the comments, and then I started seeing it again, and then I started looking at the times, and I'm like, Jesus. So we've talked about it here or there, but now you're going to lay it on the line. We got 50 people on here, almost.
Okay. So every morning when I go to work, I can leave 7:45 to be there at 8. I can leave at 8:15 to be there at 8:30. I can be late, not even get there till 10:30. 70% of the time I get caught by that train. What's really frustrating is when you get caught in the morning, and then you get caught at lunch, and then you get caught going home. So it's only 7 minutes from my house to Nichols.
Okay.
Going that way. Now, if I go the other way, it's 15 minutes.
Yep.
But I just started posting it to kind of be funny because I always get caught,
Got it.
always. And you know, we went and eat with some of my friends from high school today. We went to Cracker Barrel and had breakfast. And as soon as we got there, got out of the car, I was asked, "Did you get caught by the train today?"
Yep.
Unfortunately, I didn't go that way, but
Nice.
it's just something fun.
Yeah.
You know, I
I
try to
look
make,
forward to it. So keep posting.
yeah,
It's funny.
yeah, it's hilarious is what it is. It's like they have a GPS on my phone. It's
Yep.
coming through. Let's make his day a little bit longer.
Now, here's a great question. I'll give you my 2 cents and we'll see what Ed's got to say about it. And Victor says, are MB heads too big for drag racing on our 460 cubic inch Cleveland? Now, here's what I'll tell you about MB heads. MBE, Matt is a great guy. I've done live chats with him, talked to him personally a few times. We're talking serious heads, okay? Serious horsepower. You're talking serious dollars. I mean, just walking into anything that he has for the small block Ford setup, I mean, you're probably looking at 20 grand for a set of heads by the time you get the intake that matches, that all the rocker arms and everything that matches with it. So I'm not sure what kind of drag racing you're going to do. Now, anything under a 460, you're going to need something a lot bigger than a 427, I think, for what he has for the heads. I mean, it'll probably go on that, but you're looking more in the 450, 60 range for sure. You know, that's why they're probably more based for a Windsor, you know, a big bore Windsor that they can go to make a 460 out of. But the best thing to do if you wonder, but don't waste his time, you know, don't be a tire kicker, is call and ask Matt. He'll take a phone call from you and see, you know. And if you find out, get back on here and tell us, because I haven't talked to Matt in probably about a year. So I should get him back on. They wanted to do another. You know what? I'll do this. You want to talk about his Ford castings? Because he has a new 460 head he told me about. We'll talk about, see what he has to offer. Unless Ed tells me not to, and then I won't.
No. You know, Matt is a custom cylinder head shop, and I've never spoke to him. But I would assume that if you called down there and gave the specifics of what you're wanting to do, they would probably give you the proper cross-sectional area to support what you want to do.
Bingo. Build for what you want to do, you know.
Yeah.
But you know as well as I do, you go in there for a set of heads and to have a top end, that's a 20 grand bill right there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 15, but I mean, it isn't no, you know, $8,000 setup.
Well, I mean, it's not economical in today's world to do anything in racing. It really isn't. I mean, my BBF Assassin heads, they are, I think they're 14,000 complete. That's with Moldstar 90 seats,
Yep.
C.H.E guides, titanium valves, PSI springs, retainers, locks, valve job ready to bolt on.
But is that with the rocker arms too?
No.
Right. Rocker arm
No.
setup is $2,500
Minimum.
Right.
Minimum. Yeah.
They're steel, right? They're steel.
No, the aluminum Jessel retails at $36.99. The TD, which is steel only, is $39.99. And Terry and Sheldon, they're going to be around $3,200.
Okay. So there you go. I mean, think about it. I mean, you're 20 grand already. Doesn't
Yeah.
include the valve covers either. So think about that.
Valve covers. I mean, fab valve covers. I think we get $700 for them.
Yep.
Now it's pretty nice valve cover. Williams makes it for us, but it has the vacuum ports and everything in it, so you don't have to do nothing except plumb it. We do billets too, but they take forever to make.
Yep.
Cycle time's insane. You know, they're $1,600.
Greg says, Pro Mod Hemi has 600 pounds on the seats. Wow. That's crazy.
That's insane to me.
If they had bigger diameter cams, they could have better control, but most classes won't allow blocks. Right. I mean, that's the issue, boys. That's why they have 60 millimeter cams and 72. You know, isn't yours 72?
Mine? No, it's 65.
65. But I think
Yeah.
they can go up.
Now
I think Darren told me 72 is like the max.
there's a there's a block in the works that will go that large, 75 millimeter.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, it's race application only, and it's not going to be economical, but it's a very, very, very nice piece. It
When you think
probably
about, go ahead.
probably be available maybe by the end of 2026.
When you think about that, the big camcorders, I mean, that allows for what? Well, it allows for roller bearings, right? It allows for strength, improved strength with that kind of journal that big. It allows for what? Valve train stability, right? Because you
Hmm.
got shorter, think about it, 60 millimeter, everything's moved up. You know what I mean? You're not down here in the center of an OEM type block. So those are just things to think about.
This block will have 9 cam bearings and come with its own cam core. They will be clamshells.
Right. And that's Jay Zokel does those for Leonard Long's car.
Yeah.
Now, how do you know about this block? What are you talking about? How do you know about this?
Well, I like to play around.
Speaking of blocks, I'll tell you who called me the other day. Alan Root, great guy. You don't
Hmm.
know Alan. I love. He
Yeah.
called me. We talked for a freaking hour.
Yeah. We don't talk for 6, 8 months at a time, but every time we get on the phone, it's an
Yep.
hour and a half conversation.
So he's going to come on. I got to call another list call because he said when you get back from PR, call me. He wants to present his Coyote block, go over his new Coyote block, billet block that he built.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and I always enjoy talking with him. Let's see, Shelton got back here. I have had several customers that switched to shafts that have picked up a tenth to tenth and a half, an ET. There you go. Thank you, Shelton. I tell everybody those Monster Energy drinks are going to lead to heart attack. Yeah, okay, you're right. The more stable the valve train you have, the more power you'll. There you go. Just like with a big cam core that we're talking about, you know. The other thing that Tony told me at BS, because we were talking about cam bearings, and we were talking, I said, do I want 55? He said, yeah. You know, you don't need anything bigger than that, but 55. And I said, why? He says, just once you turn an engine over with roller cam bearings, you'll know why. He said it turns over like you wouldn't believe. So just think about that. I said, okay, let's put them in.
REM finishing a camshaft makes a big difference too. Try that.
Real REM finishing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did see some companies that do that. So let's see. I got these guys are not getting no sleep. Terry says, with the right spring pressure, the shaft rocker will easily handle all the RPM you want to turn with it. Okay. Nice. In fact, Terry, think about this. My buddy was just asking me about getting a set for FEs. Those things would go like hotcake because there's not many guys that make shaft rocker that are stable, you know, compared to the Ford stuff, stock stuff, and the end stands and all that. They would sell probably like hotcakes, I guess. I don't know. All aboard. Hurry up, people. Get on this train quick. Here comes Ed. Okay. The limit is the cross section of the head end. Yeah, right. The rocker arm setup proper will only help less deflection. We'll also make power because of using less cam lash. Okay. It's good stuff to know. That's why I want to bring these guys on for a live chat or go down there so they can talk about this instead of doing just this, you know, back and forth, reading back and forth, because you missed that. Tim, your DragBoss block 4125, 440. Okay. I don't know if that'll fit in that without dealing with it, but okay, thanks, CD. Sounds like a bargain. A pro stock diesel tractor costs $500,000 to build and $200,000 a year to maintain. Pro stock diesel tractor. You gotta be kidding me. It's crazy, man. Is the block made by Charlie Weston? I don't have no idea what he's talking about. I don't
I
know.
think they was referring to the block that I was talking about. No, I'm actually making the block.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah, the Ford truck pullers need a 9-inch deck block, and they have the A500, but it's not available. You can't find them anymore. So I'm basically making a 9-inch pro stock block for assassin heads, and it will come with camcorder, keyway lifters. I mean, it will be,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, there was A460 block. We had talked about
Yes.
that. And then what was the A500?
The A500 was a short deck, had a small block bell housing on the back. It's what Glidden run in pro stock when he tried to wedge, and had some Hemi headed deals on it too.
Yep.
But they quit making it, and you just can't find them. And if you do find them, they've been beat to death.
Leg, yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Eric says, is tumble media polishing the same as REM? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
REM is like the stuff they finish rear end gears with. Like my crankshaft has that almost like that REM finish. It's like chrome. I don't know about tumble media polishing that well. We'll get back to this. Several pullers here run tall deck GM blocks with big block Fords head on them. Wow. Now, the assassin head would go on that. I never knew that. I didn't know. That's interesting. Thanks, BCB. It's really BC Block 02, but I just like BCB. It comes out easy. Damn, that's going to be a badass block. Cast iron aluminum. Obviously.
It'll be cast iron.
Ah, I'm wrong.
Yeah, well.
Really?
The rules, most of the classes 485 require cast iron.
Okay.
And, it's there's not many people pouring cast iron blocks in America anymore, but
I know.
We will be one of them.
I talked to my Mark MME. I messaged him. We talked a little bit, and he has the tightest block. I really, and I say this before, and he, oh yeah, whatever. I just never seen any run, never seen any race. Hear all these stories. It doesn't matter. But I asked him. I have a couple of the Todd Buttermore Cleveland blocks from back in the day, the original ones, and I asked him if he could machine them, and he said, "Yeah, send me pictures and I can machine them." Thought about turning one of them in. Still have to worry about core shift, but
yeah,
I know the iron is probably better than the Chinese block.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking. And these were poured in Ohio.
Yeah.
My buddy, the pattern maker, he made the Genesis block, which Robert Pond took the FE block and took that over.
Yeah.
So he made the patterns for it originally. So I thought about getting a couple of those Cleveland's machined. I don't know. Have all these dreams and ideas, but it's getting it done.
That's all I'm doing is just chasing my dreams.
That's it. It's 47 and 60 years old. That's all we have left. We're not going back to school. We're not doing that. We're going to pursue what we have and get happy.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing. We got 2 more minutes and then we're out of here. Let's see. PR, right. I made a video of that. If you saw that, a short. Yes, that was block was cast in Germany. And then one guy was saying how, oh, that thing's junk, blah, 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 that there's the German are on strike and all this. I don't know who said that, but whatever. Who cares? If the block's good, the block's good. DRC block. Yep. Now, I'll tell you, I'm going to ask, if I talk to Warren, I'm going to mention it to him. But we had talked about, I want him to come on and do a live chat and talk about when he made the DRC one in 90 days and to tell the story about doing it at Caterpillar and how it was like an operating room and when they poured it, because of CGI and just, it's great history. When you hear the story, it's funny to hear. And so I might get him on for that. But yeah, there's not, I don't know, there's not, it comes down to where are we going with racing and the industry. And we've talked about this before, Ed and I and Darren, and we'll end up probably talking about it on our live chat on the 30th.
To circle back to that last comment, it sounds like a DRCE3 block. It's loosely based off of a DRCE and a JC51 platform. Now,
Best of both.
the JC51 and the DRCE have the Chevy bank offset. Well, my heads are for the Ford bank offset. So this block will have the Ford bank offset. That's why the intake and exhaust valve are swapped locations inside the cylinder head to help correct the huge bank offset that the Ford has as opposed to the GM. So just a little bit of clarification.
You didn't hear it here.
No.
We don't know anything about that block that could be coming to fruition. So we're past our time of 3 hours. So I think everybody's had enough to say. We had 48 people, 40 to 54, I think was the max, but constantly about 48 people, which is pretty good for me just doing a live chat with no planning. I just said I'm going to do it. My kid said, "Hey, Dad, we want to do a live chat tonight." I'm like,
I know, and you brought in the dumbest guy in every room, and you had plenty of viewers. I think it's great.
The dumbest guy. Hey, I'm a dummy too. If I don't know something, I ask the question. You don't know until you ask.
Yes.
And the more you know, the more you know. So that's important to know. It is. So I appreciate you guys being here at DragBoss Garage. We're always seeing and learning something new. I try to do that and bring stuff to you. And stay tuned, because you know what? 2026 is coming. And now that I'm a sponsor with Ed, we're going to get a lot more detail on that Assassin cylinder heads that he makes, and maybe this block, and just all around good information with the guys that we're bringing on. Wilkes Performance, LGM, Rick Gorski, a lot of local guys, not just stuff, big companies, but guys that are doing this stuff on their own.
Shout out to Rick. I got his plug wires on my personal engine. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that. So thanks, guys, for being here. 3 hours. I can't believe we talked that long. But all right, let's end the stream.